All right, cool. All right, ladies and gentlemen, listen, basically the debate is about archaeology and the Bible as far as the term Israel before 300 BC. So now if you study history outside the Bible, you realize there are certain items or certain artifacts that have been found that folks say, hey, the term Israel is here. The first item we have is the Merneptah stele. A lot of people refer to that. We have the Kirk stele. We have the Misha stele, the Teldan stele, and lately they've been having on the internet about the Berlin pedestal statue. I hope the brother don't bring that craziness up. But hey, who knows what Zadok will bring up tonight. My point, ladies and gentlemen, is this. If I prove that the term Israel is not in anywhere in history before 300 BC, this brother now has to show and prove to a linguistic expert, not a scholar, a linguistic expert. Because if he brings a scholar and I bring a scholar, this debate is a wash, because we both are not linguistic experts per se. So that means if I bring a linguistic expert and use what he translated from the primary sources, he now has to show me that I'm wrong. He can't bring a scholar and say, hey, Davy said X, Y, and Z. Then the debate don't make no sense. You understand what I'm saying? So let's look at the root to the term Israel, which I think is Yezreel, or Jezreel, as in Jezreel Valley, as we like to call it. It's also in the Bible. Let's look at this, ladies and gentlemen. What we're going to investigate is whether the name Israel derived its name from the famous place where many battles were fought in history, known as Jezreel Valley. Jezreel Valley takes its name from the ancient city Jezreel. In Hebrew, Jezreel is known as Yisrael, God will sow. See Strong's H3157. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what's interesting to note is that Jezreel, historically speaking, originally was a name used to denote an action done to a group of people in battle. These battles took place around what we know today as Jezreel Valley. Jezreel Valley was a notorious place where many battles was fought, and because so many people were scattered, note the word scattered and divided in that land area, the place became later known as Jezreel, a.k.a. the seed scattered divided area. According to the New Strong's Concordance, Exhaustive Concordance of the Bible by James Strong, page 55, the compound word Yisrael, Jezreel, A3157, Yisrael, is from Zara, to sow, to seed, and strength mighty. Zara carries three general meanings. The first to seed, sow, seed and offspring, and of course when you talk about seeds as far as children. All right, let me biblically speaking, Jezreel is first mentioned as belonging to the tribe of Issachar, and it constituted afterwards a part of the kingdom of Ishbosheth. But anyway, let me move on, ladies and gentlemen, because it's a lot of stuff here. Battles have took place in the Jezreel Valley since the time of Pepi I, 2350 BC, where he led a successful military expedition to the nose of the Gazel's head. So now we look at Thutmose III in 1479 BC. He also had 17 different campaigns in the Syrian Palestine area, also in the Jezreel Valley region. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's important to understand that the term Israel is translated by folks that, not saying that they're from not our community or whatever. I'm not biased toward history or whatever they provide, but we need to understand when we look at things, how is it translated? Let's look at the Merneptah stele real quickly and what it says and what we translate from it. The first term, ladies and gentlemen, the two reeds, which is two eyes, which if you note that the two reeds together is translated as a Y or J. Note that the J does not represent the letter J sound in English, but the phonetic value of Y and J is a long E sound, as in E motion. So when this Y double reed is prefixed at the beginning of words, it takes a Y sound. So now that's the first thing that we have. We have the Y, or the two eyes. Then we have the Z, which is the doorbolt. Then we also have the two diagonal strokes. Then after that, we have the R, which is represented by a mouse. Then we have the flowering reed again. Then we have an A, which is a vulture. And then after that, we have the mouse again. So ladies and gentlemen, when you translate the Merneptah stele, you are getting basically YZYRAIR. That's just basic. Now, this brother has to show me how he gets Israel from the Merneptah stele. He has to show me that tonight, that if you're going to show me something, bring me linguistics experts, not scholars. Translate these items for me so that I can see for myself where I am in error or where I am wrong. So from the Merneptah, I'm going to have a lot more to say about the Merneptah stele and how it breaks down to Yezreel or Jezreel. But, you know, if he brings up the Karnak, how the guy made an opinion about the Karnak and all that stuff, that's just opinion, ladies and gentlemen. We don't even need to go there. What we need to focus on is what the actual primary source says. So next, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move to the Mesha stele. And if you look at the Mesha stele, we got to understand something very important. Whenever you bring in a language from another language, you have to be very careful. It's Old Phoenician language. So what we found with linguistic experts have shown is that if you break down this word that is found in the Mesha stele, which is said over 8 different times, and to show you the games that they play, we could show that the letters, we could spell the letters out in even in Hebrew. The letters, you could spell the Yod or the Sin, the Resh, the Aleph, the Lamed. It spells the Yisrael, which is definitely not Israel. So again, I want the brother to show me that this is Israel. All right, I'm going to move on to the Teldan. The Teldan, the same thing, because it was the same type of script that they use on the Teldan, which is some sort of Phoenician language. So we know that the Teldan was saying the same exact thing as the Mesha stele. So now let's go to the Kirk stele real quickly, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go to Assyrian Diction Volume 1, Edmund Norris, page 25, where it says, Zereliah, Ahab of the land of Israel is what they say it. But he said the last word, actually, it doesn't read Israel, but it appears and look more likely to be Jezreel. Because if you look at the letters of Hebrew, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like Israel. But it has a little dot more to show that there's a J or a Y or whatever the language is, that it's not Israel. So Israel is not found in any of these things, ladies and gentlemen. He has to show me where Israel is so that we could decipher it. Because this brother's name is Zadok Ben Israel. But after this debate, if he can't show me no Israel, he got to change his name to Zadok Ben X. Because there is no way, no shape or form we have Israel anywhere, ladies and gentlemen, before 300 BC documented. There's no way, shape, or form. They don't have no Hebrew documents. There's none to show me. So we know we have to go to other cultures. Type of hypocrisy with all these researchers. Every little word they see, they're quick to say it's Israel. And the Teldan stele and the Mesha stele is proof of that. The Moabite stone. That is direct proof that the word definitely does not say Israel. No way, shape, or form before 300 BC. We have to be very careful when it comes to linguistics. It's not about scholars, ladies and gentlemen. It's about people who actually read these items. If he can't bring that to me tonight, it don't make no sense we continue the debate, because the letters are there, the evidence is there of the linguist. I wish we were in person so I could show people that these.
All right, thank you. Praise the Most High God. And I thank the people who have decided to spend a couple hours of their Friday evening with us. Now, what's interesting is how the brother tried to say what I have to prove. No, I don't really have to prove anything according to the direction he wants to take it. My job here is to prove that the nation of Israel was a people known, their kings were known, and their territory was recognized in history. Now, what I want to do is I want to say this. Sal told you that the brother has a group with like 10,000 or more members, and it's called something like Kinetics versus Hebrew Israelites. It's something, I forget the exact name, but I'm in the group, and I see what's going on there. And honestly, Brother Garfield Reid and many of the others, even though he don't call himself an Egyptologist or anything of that nature, they all deny the historical existence of the nation of Israel as a people. They deny David existed. They deny Saul existed. So understand the whole spirit of why he's willing to debate tonight. It's not because the name Israel, Israel, is important. He's not here to necessarily prove that the name Israel doesn't appear in history. The spirit and the truth behind the reason him being here is because for all of you tonight who claim to be descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, or you believe you are possibly a descendant, or you may not say you're a flesh and blood descendant, but you understand that there are covenants that come through that bloodline, and so you decide to be adopted into that family. That family has a moniker on them. That family moniker is Israel, and if they can prove certain things, their goal is to shoot down the whole Bible as a fallacy, from Genesis to Revelation. All the Old Testament is made up. Jesus Christ is a plagiarized deity, and the different stories and things are bits and pieces of other people's history, if you will. Brothers and sisters, the brothers' aim tonight is to try and cast doubt on the existence of Israel as a people and as a kingdom. But I don't just have to go and show that Israel, that the word Israel was used before the 3rd century, but that the kings of Israel and the territory of Israel was attributed to these people. So he's going to bring up these linguistic things. I'll tell you this straight up. I am not a Hebrew scholar, a Greek scholar, or any other kind of language scholar. I do research. I am not convinced that the gentleman tonight opposite me is a language scholar, and there were a couple of Egypt or Kemetic individuals who were trying to break down the Merneptah Stele in one of his posts in his group, and so the argument he came with didn't surprise me. I expected him to come near, but to say that the precedent of tonight's debate is just to prove the word and not actually the people is a fallacy. Now, what I want to do, my brothers and my sisters, is this. I want to actually put out there what archaeology is, because remember, it's about archaeology. This was not a linguistic debate, but linguistics is a part of archaeology, no doubt. So I'm not going to dip that. And what he did was he went to the places where he knew that there were things that are being claimed, and what he has done through his scholars and the people that they choose to prop up as valid say, oh, this couldn't say that. This has to say Jezreel. Well, let's say it says Jezreel. Okay, I'm going to do something with that. But what is archaeology? Brothers and sisters, at the end of the day, archaeology has 2 parts to it to make it official archaeology. It is the excavation of ancient artifacts. You know, they find pottery, they find inscriptions, they find buildings, whatever it is, but they find these ancient artifacts and the interpreting of those artifacts. Now, the one thing that he won't say is that there are scholars who definitely disagree with his point. So you could do the research. I've been all over the internet. I've been through the trove of books that we have here in our archive, and brothers and sisters, linguists don't agree. The same way that today scientists do not agree on if global warming is a man-contributed problem or not. In the science world, scientists who have PhDs on both sides of the spectrum disagree, but they all are part of the same science. It is the same thing with this linguistic idea, and what he also has to admit is that when the Merneptah Stele was found, when the Kerr Stele was found, and when the Mesha stone, a.k.a. the Moabite stone, was found, but we're going to get into some of the other things, too, as far as the kings of Assyria. There were linguists there. They took these artifacts and they brought them to the most expert linguists of their time. So these are people with PhDs and degrees as well. So I'm just, as far as that linguistic thing, I can cite linguistics experts who say that these things are not mistranslations, as he tried to so cunningly stir the debate towards linguists. But what about archaeology? Let's go to the quote-unquote no, not the Merneptah Stele, because he brought that up. I never even had intention on bringing it up because I do understand how his brethren look at that. But I want to read this. Now, check this out. I'm going to read some things from the Mesha Stele. Now, what they're going to do is they're going to, everywhere where it would say Israel, they're going to say, no, that's all Jezreel, like they're Phoenician experts. Phoenician and Hebrew are way closer than Phoenician in the Kemetic hieroglyphs or Hebrew in the hieroglyphs. That's a fact. Now, on the Mesha Stele, I'm going to read some things, okay, off the lines. This is off of line 3. Mesha made a high place for Chemosh, and Chemosh gave victory to Mesha over his enemies. Line 5. Chemosh was angry with Moab. Omri, who was king of northern Israel or Samaria, oppressed Moab. And I'm going to skip down line 17. The altar herbs of Yahweh from Nebo were dragged before Chemosh. And also, brothers and sisters, he claims this on lines 21 and 26. He says, he built a city called Jericho. And after he had defeated some of the Israelites and took some captive, he claims on line 26 that he dug the ditches for the city of Jericho with prisoners of Israel. Now, this is what's funny. All the names of the kings, King Omri, and his son Jehu. They are mentioned by name, but yet he's going to say that Omri wasn't king of Israel. See, this is Israel in archaeology. Even if he want to say it's Jezreel, I'm going to go with the experts who found it and say it's Israel, not some later dudes who want to say, well, no, I don't believe it's that. The guys who found it, the linguists in Europe and in the Middle East who came together to decipher these things and found Israel there. So I'm going to bow out for right now and go into the next part. Thank you.
All right, once again, you're listening to Debate Talk for You, and you're officially inside the Lions.
Ladies and gentlemen, listen. This is really funny right now. This is very funny. I want you guys to go on Wikipedia and put in the Merneptah stele. And I want you to look at, he said experts, right? Look at what, when Flinders Petrie found the Merneptah stele, look at what he said. Stele was discovered in 1896 by Flinders Petrie. All right. Flinders Petrie called upon William Spiegelberg, a German philologist, in his archaeological team to translate the newly found massive granite stela. Towards the end of the text, Spiegelberg was puzzled by the mention of one symbol, that of a people or tribe whom Merneptah had victoriously smitten, I.S. Israel. Petrie quickly suggested that it read Israel. Spiegelberg agreed that this translation must be correct. Won't the reverends be pleased, remarked Petrie. At dinner that evening, Petrie, who realized the importance of the find, this stele will be better known in the world than anything else I have found. Ladies and gentlemen, note Petrie's quickly suggested, and Spiegelberg ready accepting that such must be correct. If Petrie was not a devout Christian, or if another philologist had been present to suggest, well, it could be or maybe, would we be today assailed with the given fact that it must be Israel so convincingly? No, nobody. You see what he just said a while ago? I just blasted that out the door. Now, let me move on to something that he just brought up with the Misha stele, ladies and gentlemen. This is the problem with the Misha stele. Ask him, comes on, and I'll ask him to in the question and answer period. Does the history in the Bible matches with the Moabite stele? And if this brother is an honorable brother like I think he is, he's going to say no. Because you know what happened, ladies and gentlemen? They switched the names of the gods. The Bible would say Yahweh allowed his people, Israel, to be defeated, oppressed by their enemies when he was angry with them. And then in the Moabite stone it says Shemash allowed his people, Moab, to be defeated, oppressed by their enemies when he was angry with them. The Bible says Yahweh saved the king of Israel from those who hated him. Then in the Moabite, it says Shemash saved the king of Moab from those who hated him. In the Bible, it says Israelites take cities and kill all the people. In the Moabite stone, it says the Moabites take cities and kill all the people. Then it says Yahweh commands Israel to attack a city. The Israelites kill all the people as a devotion to Yahweh. Then in the Moabite stele, it says Shemash commands Moab to attack a city. The Moabites kill all the people as a devotion to Shemash. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is not evidence for any Israelite people, period. Take out the whole translation argument for a second, transliteration argument. Let's say it says Zadokites, not even Israelites, Zadokites, right? So now, ladies and gentlemen, if Shemash is correct, there's no Yahweh, there's no people in this that's described in the Bible. That's a blatant contradiction. This is evidence against you, my brother. The Misha stele is about Shemash and the Moabites. But they use this now and try to say it's about the Israelites because of this and because of that. Shemash said to me, go take Nebo against Israel, and went by night and fought. But in the Bible, they switch it and say Yahweh said this, to give Yahweh. So the writers, ladies and gentlemen, after the 3rd century BC, this is when they did this. So you have no evidence, my brother, and you say about Omri, let me teach you about Omri. The fact of the matter is, nobody in that era called the area Israel on record. The Assyrians called it Samaria. They call it the house of Omri, Comri, whatever you want to call it. They never said Israel. So if he's going to say that, he got to bring forth Persian records, Egyptian records, Assyrian records, or Babylonian records. Ladies and gentlemen, there's nowhere in history that these people say Omri, Israel. And as a matter of fact, between 853 BC and 722 BC, we have clear evidence of a small kingdom around the city of Samaria. The regular Assyrian name for this kingdom was the land of Omri, or house of Omri. The only capital mentioned is Samaria. Without the Bible, would historians have even called this the kingdom of Israel? No. It would have been more likely to be known as Omri, the house of Omri. Read, if you Google right now Israel kings list and look at the names, you won't see Israel at the bottom. You won't see all these kings. Yes, there were vassal kings and puppet kings, buffer kings. Of course there were, all over Canaan. But ladies and gentlemen, these people were not Israelites per se. They weren't. They were never called that. That's why I have to bring up the linguistic part. Because if they weren't called Israelites, who are these people? And, I mean, the debate is about the term Israel, actually, before Trajan beat the proof of Israel itself. And there was no kingdom named Israel. He can't prove that because nobody called it that. If your enemies don't call it Israel, it's not Israel. I'm telling the brother right now, if he can't show me Israel in antiquity, his name that he's wearing is not real. And I'm going to bring something out later on, ladies and gentlemen, to show you I have documentation of the people that are in the history that they were never called Jews, Hebrews, or Israelites. Ladies and gentlemen, listen, man, I'm not knocking you if you want to hold the faith or if you want to follow the laws and commandments. But ladies and gentlemen, this book is a deception. And the Misha still proves it. He brought it out as evidence, and I just counteracted it, showed that these people are not experts. They're believers.
All right, now, praise the Lord. Now, what's interesting is, once again, he goes back and forth between what Misha says in his steel, and then what's written in the Bible, and says that basically what he is saying is that the story in Kings and Chronicles is nothing but a fabrication added story, which was really the Moabite story, and then someone got it, and they just replaced Chemosh with Yahweh, Yahweh with Chemosh. Actually, in any history of people, you're going to find the same thing. So, for instance, for so long, brothers and sisters, the Hittites were not considered to be a people, right? Because, they were considered to be a people, but over the last couple hundred years with this, with new science and new age of enlightenment, people started to question biblical stuff. So for many years, the Hittites were supposed to be a fake people. Now, not until they found Ramesses' temple, and they found stuff in about the 1830s, 1840s, and they found the word Hattai all over these documents. And at first, they still didn't know what it was, and the kings that were being named, they didn't know what those kings' names were necessarily. So the only proof that they had, besides this, what they found was for millennium, the Hebrew and Greek writings holding the Hittite people, the names of the Hittite kings, this, that, and the third. Now, why am I bringing this up? Because Ramesses claimed a victory, made himself all big and gigantic. He claimed Ra did this for him and did that for him, right? And had him go out and battle and triumph. And he got the Hittite soldiers looking like little figurines on his stele. But then guess what? They actually found the remains of the Hittite Empire. And they found the inscriptions of the Hittite kings in the cuneiform tablets. And guess what? In those tablets, their God, actually, their king says their God gave him the power to go against the king of Egypt. And their God allowed him to win the battle. So who won the battle? Did the Hittites win the battle, or did the Egyptians win it? Did Ramesses win it? Like he propagandically told his people, which was found out to be not the whole truth. Basically, as far as we understand, they fought to a treaty. They fought to a truce. But Ramesses didn't paint it as a truce. He painted it as a great victory from his god Ra. And when they finally found the Hittite Empire, he painted it as a victory from his great god and beating back the Egyptian horde and them not defeating his army. So when he want to say Misha versus Chemosh versus Yahweh, it doesn't surprise me that when the story is told from the opposing sides, they're going to claim our God let us go and defeat this city. No, our God told us to defeat this city. Our God led us in battle against this person, that person. But I do want to bring this out. I want to actually bring out the something that was found, a tablet that was found that started the Babylonian Chronicles, right, which are scheduled to be from 605 to 595 BC. And these were first published by Donald J. Weissman, in 1956, right? Now, in the first year of this, Nebuchadnezzar claims to have captured Jerusalem, which is Jerusalem of Israel. Also, brothers and sisters, in digging up the ancient palace, they found tablets in the palace, and on some of the tablets, among the name of the elite of different nations that the Babylonians had taken, you actually find the name of Jehoiakim, who is king of Judah. Actually, they have a stele. They actually have the tablet, if you will. They actually have it, brothers and sisters, in the Pergamon Museum in Berlin. And on the tablet, Jehoiakim, king of Judah, and his family are among the list, by name, king of Judah, as one of the men in his family who got certain rations from the king's table. In the book of Daniel, Daniel and his brothers were part of the elite, the nobility class, and remember, they refused to eat from the king's table. But Jehoiakim, king of Judah, and his family actually had gotten rations from the king's table. Also, brothers and sisters, when he brings up the Kirk tablet, see, this is the thing, once again, and I'm going to ask him some questions. How is it that all the names in the Bible that fit the kings who actually had war with the Assyrians and everything for generations, their names are on these steles? But he's just saying that no, but when it says Israel, it's supposed to say Jezreel, even on the Phoenician tablets. That talks about the Sennacherib and the Assyrian campaigns against Israel. Do anyone actually believe that? So the names of the kings are correct, and yes, they were called Samaria, no problem. But brothers and sisters, Israel is the family name. Samaria was the territory. So at the end of the day, in the Bible, what are they known as? Samaria. When Jeroboam got the 10 tribes, they were called what? Samaria. The whole family together was called Israel. So for him to say that the Kirk stele is wrong and the Tel Dan stele and everything else is wrong, he has to prove that across all languages. Everywhere it said Israel, it would say Jezreel. That's his argument. Everything in history where they thought was Israel is really in history is Jezreel everywhere. Okay, if he want to stand on that, but he can't get away from the kings and the princes and the battles that were said to be fought with them and the tributes that these men had to pay by name as the kings of Judah and the kings of Samaria, who is a.k.a. Israel. I'm here to prove that Israel is documented archaeologically in history, not just the word Israel, but the people and their kings. Thank you.
All right, once again, it's Debate Talk Free Radio. You're inside the Lions Den, everybody. The number is 646-716-7320. Once again, I know you guys are taking down your notes. There's a lot of information already being put out there for the people all across the globe that check out Debate Talk Free Radio. For the international listeners out there, if you want to call in, you got to call in via Skype. You can't call in with your phone. You have to call in via Skype. And once you call in, if you have a question, you got to press the number 1. But everybody else, you can call in via Skype or via phone. It's no problem. And by the way, the chat room is officially open, guys. The chat room is officially open. If you want to gain access to the chat room, you have to go to blogtalkradio.com/debate talk for you. Click on the show, scroll down at the bottom, and you'll see the chat room at the bottom of the page. So now let's go to the second rebuttal part of this debate. Let's go back to Garfield Reid. Open up his phone line and go ahead.
I admire Zadok, man, but listen, ladies and gentlemen, listen carefully. The debate basically was supposed to prove if archaeology exists of Israel as far as the term. I think we have a misunderstanding. But let me say this. What Jezreel is, ladies and gentlemen, even if you read Hosea, it always mentions Jezreel. It's like mentioning of seeds and scattered throughout. So the people from the Jezreel Valley, they were scattered, always scattered when there's always war. Where's Armageddon supposed to be, ladies and gentlemen? It is supposed to be there in the Jezreel Valley. Har, H-A-R, Megiddo. That's the same thing as Armageddon. Let me, and this is a dagger alert right here. Listen to what he just said about Nebuchadnezzar. Nobody said Nebuchadnezzar never lived or Judea is not a place. Nobody said anybody wasn't a king, but they just were Israelites. Listen to this, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to prove this. He cannot tell me that these people were known as Jews, Hebrews, or anything. Listen to this. The Syro-Cylinder text has traditionally been seen by biblical scholars as corroborative evidence of Cyrus' policy of the repatriation of the Jewish people following their Babylonian captivity, an act that the book of Ezra attributes to Cyrus, as the text refers to the restoration of cult sanctuaries and repatriation of deported people. This interpretation has been disputed as the text identifies only Mesopotamian sanctuaries and makes what? No mention of Jews, Jerusalem, or Judea. Did you hear that, ladies and gentlemen? No mention of Jews, Jerusalem, or Judea. Why? The cylinder has also been called the oldest known charter or symbol of universal human rights, a view rejected by others as anachronistic and a misunderstanding of the cylinder generic nature as typical as a typical statement. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. This is what's the purpose? Listen, ladies and gentlemen, we have no kingdom of Israel, no united monarchy. This is why King Hazel, and this is how you know how this stuff is a lie. Remember when Shishak, they like to say Shishak, went to Israel and all this stuff? The great Karnak relief in Egypt lists many places plundered by Pharaoh Shishak in the one, 1 King 14 and Shishak. Although his campaign was in areas in or bordering Israel and Judah, his monument contains not a single mention of Israel or Judah. Why? Because he's just a liar or they didn't count? What about Merneptah? He don't want to talk about Merneptah. You know why? Because that story is not in the Bible. And it says, even if it did say Israel, your seed is not, it no longer exists. So who are you, brother? Who are you claiming Israel if they were no longer existed? And even if they lied, the sea people invaded and the people in Canaan helped them. And he listed everybody. The brother Ramesses III listed them. And guess what? Ain't no Israelites. Ain't nobody. And during that time was when Joshua supposedly ripped through all these towns. So where were you, brother? Where were the Israelites? They never existed. These people are a mixture of Hyksos, mixed with traditional people who probably live in Judea, with Babylons and Persians. These people are a mixture of people who develop traditions from all over. This is why Israel Finkelstein calls them Canaanites. This is why, my brother, Shishak is another dagger. And listen, old claims by biblical archaeologists that Solomon was responsible for the major building activity at Giza, Megiddo, and Hazor at this time are inspired by the Bible story. They have no basis in archaeological evidence alone. You know why? Because King Hazel, brother, who was the king of Aramea, the Arameans invaded and he ruled for 40 years. That's where David history came from. It came from him. So when he killed the people in the town that Goliath came from, they invented a story saying that this guy named David, this mighty king, killed Goliath, but he was referring to King Hazel, who destroyed that town, and now they're saying that Giza, Megiddo, and Hazor was built by King Hazel. That's what they're saying now. Brothers and sisters, stop being deceived. We are not attached to none of this. I'm telling you, we have Nubia, Ethiopia, and Egypt, Babylon, ancient history. We don't need this. We are the original people. Everywhere you go in this world, we don't need this made-up stuff. You can't find one artifact with no King David, King Solomon, the patriots. No archaeologists right now believe the patriots exist. Not one. He can't quote me one right now that's alive that said the patriots existed. Not saying I trust archaeologists, all of them, but for all of them to say it. And these people are Jews who have to lie to prove what they believe. They lie, they mistranslate stuff. It's not that Jezreel is the whole thing, brother. It's the fact that what it means out of Jezreel Valley, the seeds being scattered. So everybody who fights in the Jezreel Valley, they scatter all over. That's what it mentions, the nomadic people, all this, the dwellers in the hills and all this craziness. But ladies and gentlemen, I just proved that what he said about Nebuchadnezzar don't make no sense. It really don't make no sense. Even if Nebuchadnezzar is right. Where are the Jews in the Cyrus cylinder? He was the one that helped you, this white guy from Persia. Your God Yahweh called him, who when he worshipped Ahura Mazda, I don't even understand that. Did his God talk to that God? Come on, man.
Amen. Praise the Lord. Now, what's so interesting, my brothers and my sisters, is that at the end of the day, what we have here, he finally came out with it. He said that Israelites never existed. See, he said there must have been an understanding of what the debate was about. Maybe it was because I'm here tonight to prove that Israel, as a people, their kings and their territory is mentioned as having conflict and being in contact with other great kings of the earth at that time who did claim to have preeminence over them and did claim defeat. Now, he wants to tell me, he wants to ask me, where's the archaeology? But then he turned around and say, not saying that I trust all archaeologists, brothers and sisters. See, you know why he has to throw that in there too? Because your argument for what is valid in history can't be, well, since no one has found this, it didn't happen. No, you could just say, I won't believe it until I see this. And he would have been one of the skeptics in the year 1810, just 200 years ago. He would have been one of the skeptics saying, hey, I don't want no such thing as no Hittites. And the only place that it ever was written is in the Bible. So he would have dismissed them just as another people. And then when they found something in Egypt, and then they went and found the whole Hittite capital city, and it can't be denied no more, then he probably will humble himself and say, you know what, okay, it is true. So all I'm saying is that how long between the first century in the year 1814, you mean you people had a good 1,600-year ability to say, man, the Bible is washed, and one of the main people they got rid of was the Hittites because the Hittites were said to be such a power against Egypt. But we know that it was true because eventually it was found. We don't know what's going to be found eventually, but let me give you a recent find, 20th century find. The Lachish letters. Now, this is in the land of Israel. The Lachish letters, brothers and sisters, are clay tablets, right? They're written in Hebrew script, and they're dated to be from the 7th century B.C., okay? Now, on the Lachish letters, which were found at a place called Tel Et Duir, they are among the ruins of the ancient city of Lachish, which had a city gate. And a lot of the letters were from an Israelite or Jewish or Hebrew, whatever word he want to say never existed, commander named Hosea, or Hosea in English, who was stationed as a general at this post. And in his letters and in his writings, he's letting you know what his duty was. He was the one responsible to make sure that the signals of Lachish and Azekah were found and seen so he could report back and let the people know that they are holding up. Why? Because as they fought the Babylonians, the Bible tells you in the book of Jeremiah chapter 34 that the cities of what? Lachish and Azekah were the only two cities left that the Babylonians had a hard time with. Why? Because they were fortified. All the cities of Israel weren't fortified. But this city in particular were the last two fortification cities, and if you defeat them, then you got a clear run up to Jerusalem. Now, also, let's put it this here. He says in his letter, they translate this quote where he says, the signal of Azekah can no longer be seen. And what this means is what? That when he can't see it, he has to announce that this city has been taken because they don't like that light every night. Then we know that the city has fallen to the enemy invaders. So they have these letters from this general who was part of the embassage that would keep Jerusalem, the king of Jerusalem, informed on the condition of the fortified cities if they're holding up against the king of Babylon's assault. And Azekah fell, and Lachish eventually, just as Jeremiah chapter 34 says. And when that happens, brothers and sisters, what happens? The Babylonians come in. Now, he's saying they didn't exist, and you don't find this name, you don't find these names. You find these people, and you do find Judah in history, and you do find Israel in history. And he knows once again, then he admit, and we'll have a cross-examination, that there are scholars who are linguist experts and say, no, that there is a misrepresentation. The BAR Association, who are one of the biggest skeptics on any biblical archaeology, even have to admit that even though they give their reasonings on why they don't believe the Tel Dan Stel supports the house of David, their counterparts express why they do believe. And they're all lingual experts, some of them, and archaeological experts, and history experts, and anthropologists, this, that, and the third. So Zadok is not up here claiming to be an expert, but he, just like me, is reading from sources. He's talking very fluidly as if he just got this all in his head because he found all this stuff. No, he's giving you sources that he reads. I have sources as well. So it's source versus source tonight. And when we get to the question and answer period, we'll get to ask each other some questions, and let's see how that goes.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the brother, as I said before, I don't want to get into a scholar says scholar this or your scholar is better than my scholar. What I'm asking the brother to show me is plain and simple. You're saying that the Bible is 100% correct. You have to preach that because you have a ministry. You're a part of a ministry. So you're obligated to say that whether you believe it 100% or not. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the point of everything that we're doing tonight is if he says that some things have happened and he's pointing out to Jeremiah and all that stuff, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not arrogant to say, hey, you know what, there was nobody worshiping Yahweh. I'm not arrogant enough to say that. I'm not, and I will never do that. Now, if you're saying that, okay, in Samaria they used to worship Yahweh and they used to do this and that, ladies and gentlemen, these people are plain and simple Canaanites. The word Yah is rooted in Egypt from Yah. I-A-H, Yah comes from Egypt. It can be proven. It has a history. It's a moon god. Now, ladies and gentlemen, El was the main god in Canaan. Now, after a while, that changed. So now the Canaanites, ladies and gentlemen, according to his stories that he believes in, because he knows as well as I do that there's no archaeology. He can't bring an archaeologist that says that, hey, you know what, Abraham existed, Joseph existed, Moses existed, or Joshua existed, Elijah existed, Elisha existed. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, all you have to do, this is common sense. We have no written records of any history at all for these. I said this last night and I'll say it again because it's a dagger. 23,145 verses, and you can't find one verse? One? You can't find one manuscript? And you're going to talk about these people existed? Oh, I forgot. There's a conspiracy to hide it. But, ladies and gentlemen, we have writings in the 3rd century. People wrote about Moses. I have evidence of that. And I'm going to get into that later on. Because these are daggers. This proves that the history in the Bible is what it is. Something that just made up. It has real characters. But guess what? The stories aren't real. I just proved it with the Misha steel. Shamash, they switched it. But why would Garfield give the Shamash and the Moabite steel preference over the book or the word of God? Because we have no manuscripts of anything written back then to say, hey, let's match these stories up. Let me give a quick example, and I did it last night. The Babylonians and the Persians agreed why they were defeated. But in Ezra and in Isaiah 45:1, it shows that it was Yahweh. So this is all they did. All these stories were in Alexandria, Egypt, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody can remember 23,145 verses. No one. Forget about it. And remember, some of these books weren't written at the same time. So one person is going to remember everything. Oh, maybe they had a script, and that's where they got it from. The Septuagint is the first book that was ever written. The Septuagint, then another translation, then another translation, then another translation. That's how it was done. People copied, and then you had the Maccabees. They had their version of stuff. The Hasmoneans, you had this person. Then you had the Dead Sea Scrolls, and then you had different people. Ladies and gentlemen, listen. He cannot prove that the people in Israel were these big-time kings. He can't even show. You know, he didn't stress on David and Solomon. Why? How is this guy, Zadok Ben Israel, from the school of X, Y, and Z, and don't want to talk about David and Solomon? Guess why, ladies and gentlemen? They have nothing. Nothing. Every day you hear, oh, that's Solomon's grave. You hear that, oh, the Teldan steel with David's name on it, the house or the king of David or whatever. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to break that down too. But guess what? The Teldan steel was written by King Hazel's brother. I said that last night too. King Hazel's brother. Ain't nothing written. Everything you're looking for Israel, you got to go to somebody else. Why? People, you got to use common sense. Common sense. I'm going to get into Moses the next time the person that's documented the history, because we have a history of a guy named Moses, and this might shock a lot of people out there that don't believe in Moses. There's historical records of a guy named Moses. So now I'm going to bring up in the next time I talk why Moses, ladies and gentlemen, is not the same Moses that we see in the Bible. It just seems like a recurring occurrence. I'm glad the brother didn't stoop low and say Imhotep is Joseph and all this nonsense. I'm glad he didn't go that route, because that's just craziness. That's why I actually admire the brother. But ladies and gentlemen, he can't bring up David and Solomon, because guess what? I'm going to expose who Solomon is. I'm going to expose who the brother is. I'm going to break down the language, what his name means, where it came from. And he's going to have to answer to that. So I can't wait for the question, the back and forth, because we're going to get it in. Ladies and gentlemen, I have proven that everything that he said don't make no sense. He don't want to get into linguistics, because guess what? Linguistics is not scholar versus scholar. You have to point out what a word means, and there's no word in there that says Israel. The word that's translated is from the same term that's in the Merneptah stele, but it's just mistranslated. That's all I'm saying. But when you're a believer in the Bible, everything you find, you're going to say, hey, that's Israel. That's Israel. We're going to make the reverends happy. That's Israel. Because you're a believer. 99% of the people that dig are believers. Thank God for Finkelstein and Silberman and
Go ahead, Zadok. Yo, Zadok, can you hear me?
I'm sorry.
Hello?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you now.
Can you hear me?
You reset the timer. Yeah. All right, no problem.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right. Yeah, now, praise the Lord, because as a man talks, the truth just comes out more and more. Now, what's interesting is the brother on one hand tells you, I won't be so arrogant or so boastful to try and say what kings didn't exist and this, that, and the third, and who didn't worship Yahweh, and he said, and he tried to break down Yahweh come from this, that, and the third. See, this is the whole thing. Unlike some people who try to make Hebrew this great language and make the culture of Israel this great set-apart thing, what set Israel apart, brothers and sisters, was the justness, was how just its laws were. And it has laws that you won't find in any nation. All nations have laws that are common, but yet there were things about Israel with their laws that till this day, health experts and people into medicine and everything, they actually admire how so long ago a small people like this, a small kingdom like this would have such great understanding of the human anatomy and things of that nature, where they don't even find all of these things in some greater counterparts like the Egyptians, the Babylonians, so on and so forth. Now, brothers and sisters, Hebrew itself is a mix of languages of that area. The language isn't that unique, even though I know some people like to make it so. So when he says Yah has the Egyptian myth, the Hebrew, what is the Egyptian word for Moses? Moshe. What is the Hebrew word for Moses? Moshe. What is the Canaanite word for master or Lord? Baal. What is the Hebrew word for master or Lord? Baal. What is a title that some women call their husband? Baali. They call their husband Lord or Master. So at the end of the day, I'm not here to argue them points. Don't try to make it seem as if because look how he says all of these nations share all of this common stuff. Look how he said the Phoenicians and the Egyptians' word Jezreel had to be the same word if the Merneptah stele is Jezreel, and then the Mesha stone is Jezreel, and the Tel Dan stone or the found at Kirk is Jezreel. So look at how he's trying to show that in that area there was a commonality of language. The Hebrews were not exempt from that. What makes Hebrew is its kind of difference. The same way that French and Italian are similar in many ways, but yet have their differences. Now, I want to get back to the point here, because at the end of the day, I'm not here to just prove the actual word Israel, but he's saying more in his case. There was no Jew, Judah, Hebrew. Well, let's get into it then. Now, still, reading from the tablets, not just the steles, but the tablets, that they found in Babylon. There was one that was purchased by the British Museum in the 19th century. And you can go there to this day, and they have a section there that's talking about the fall of Jerusalem. And this is what it is translated into. And when you visit the museum right now, for the brothers and sisters listening from the United Kingdom, go to the British Museum and see what the translation says in the language that you speak and tell me it don't mean that. The translation reads, Year 7, which is equivalent to what we call 597 BC, in Kislev, the king of Babylonia called out his army and marched to Hatu, which is the ancient Hittite territory. He set his camp against the city of Judah, and on the second Adar, he took the city and captured the king. He appointed a king of his choosing there, took heavy tribute, and returned to Babylon. Now, this is what the scribes, it's not like the king is writing this himself. The reporters write this. Let's get to some other things. Let's go to some of the Assyrian accounts that he didn't really bring up, because it's not just these stelae. It is also these tablets, brothers and sisters. Now, let me give you just one famous one that comes from a very famous king. It is called the Stele of Adad-Niri III. And in it, he says, I received tribute of Joash the Sumerian, and of the Tyrian ruler, and of the Sidonian ruler. He also mentions this in his stela, which was found at the next king's palace in Nineveh, Esarhaddon. He, in his stele tablet, this is the translation. I called up the kings of the country of Hattai on the other side of the river, Manasseh, king of Judah. Together, 22 kings of Hattai, the seashore and the islands. All these I sent out and made them transport under terrible difficulties to Nineveh, the town where I exercised my rulership as building material for my palace. He mentions Manasseh, king of Judah, by name in his stele. This is in the stele of Esarhaddon, found in his ancient palace of Nineveh. So once again, we have an Assyrian king who is mentioning Manasseh as being not just Manasseh the Samaritan or Manasseh of Jezreel, but Manasseh, king of Judah. So, brothers and sisters, when the brother and I get together, we actually are going to talk about this, because I actually have Sennacherib's prism as well. We're going to talk about some things, and let's just see where he can deny everything, because at the base of it, he told you. He's trying to basically say Israel don't exist. Israel is a fake people made up with a fake story. And we
All right, time is up. Once again, guys, it's Debate Talk B Radio. So now we're going to go into the cross-examination part of this debate. Each opponent has prepared some questions to ask one another. The person answering the question has 1 minute to answer the question. 1 minute without interruption to answer the question. And after that, they can move on to the next question. But of course, in the process of answering the question, answer the question as brief as possible, because there's only 8 minutes each. So now we're going to start off with Garfield Reid asking questions to Zadok first. Let me open up both of their phone lines, and you can ask your questions, Garfield.
Yes, first of all, let me just make something clear, by the way, brother. I never said that Judah never existed. I never said that. And people could go back to the tape. I never said that. That never came out of my mouth the whole time. All right, let me ask you a quick question here. Let me get you real fast. You said that no laws that the Hebrews have exist in other cultures. That's what people are looking at, the dietary laws and so forth, right? You said that earlier. Now, let me ask you a question. Have you ever reviewed the law codes of ancient Mesopotamia, like the Code of Ur-Nammu, the laws of Eshnunna, or some of the cuneiform laws? Because, my brother, it's documented that some of these laws are sometimes word for word in the Bible. So why would you say that there's exclusive laws in the Bible when they aren't?
Oh, really? So in those tablets, is there any prohibition against the worship of idols?
Any prohibition of idols?
No, I'm sorry, brother. I'm not supposed to ask you a question.
Right.
I'm supposed to ask you a question. Forgive me. What I will say to that is this. I did not say that the Israelites' laws were exclusive to only them. I said they shared laws in common with many nations, as many do. But there are laws that they have that are specific to them that you don't find in every ancient people. And we could prove that.
All right. The next thing is your name is Zadok Ben Israel. Why do you wear a name that cannot be found in antiquity? Can you show me where you can find a brother named Zadok Ben Israel in history? Can you find anybody with a name close to yours anytime in history? I'm not talking about the artifacts that we're arguing about. Outside these artifacts, do we have documents where they say, okay, the king had a guy that worked with him named such and such Ben Israel, or such and such? Do you have that, my brother?
No, I've never even searched for anything like that. My name is actually taken out of the book of the Kings in the Bible. Okay.
All right. The next question I have is what language was the lingua franca between? And by the way, is Aramaic and Hebrew the same thing?
As far as I understand, no. They have similarities, but they're not the exact same thing, because I believe just like English, it is a language. The languages that are spoken by everyday people change with the society of its time. So as far as I understand, they are not the exact same language, even though they mirror each other in some ways.
All right. Do you believe the people at the Elephantine Papyri that they were Jewish?
The people of the Elephantine Papyri, from the Elephantine Island in the Nile River, I'm not sure. There are suggestions that they could have possibly been. So could have possibly isn't good for me, which is why I didn't even bring up the Elephantine tablets, even though some people live and die by them.
Okay. All right. Let me see. Let's take all these cultures out of history for a second. Since we're Israelites, as you believe, and can you find our history without Canaan, Amaru, Kemet, Babylon, Assyria, Persia, and take out all those artifacts? Can we find anything about Israel outside of those countries, those cultures?
No, sir, not that I have found. And I believe I know the reason why, being that they were not as the others around them were. They eventually tried to be like it, but the Bible lets us know in the book of Samuel that the people eventually asked for a king like the other nations. They were nothing but a tribal shepherd people who had fought Canaan and had took some small territory, which the book tells us clearly. You've stated, I've heard you in other discussions, they never even took it all, even in the days of Joshua, one of their greatest quote-unquote warriors. So the nation of Israel, small kingdom, a small agricultural / shepherd kingdom, that the tribes came together to fight and keep territory together. They were not empire builders like the Egyptians, like the Babylonians, the Phoenicians, and that's why they have such great monuments and stuff, because they were empire builders when Yahweh clearly wrote in his law that the people of Israel were never supposed to build empire. And I believe that's one of the reasons why you don't find a lot of stuff like you do some of their counterparts.
Next question. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is a very long question, and I'm going to ask my brother respectfully. Again, it goes back to the name Zadok Ben Israel, and I did say at the debate he got to change his name to Zadok Ben X after this debate, because this is my problem, ladies and gentlemen. The Jewish characters named in the book of Daniel, other than two Judean kings, Yahuyakim and Matanyahu, can be verified by Babylonian sources, even though clay tablets have been discovered providing the names of nearly 30,000 so-called Jews taken from the kingdom of Judah and resettled in Babylonia. So they had a list, ladies and gentlemen, and if you know about Daniel, you know that Daniel had names. Now, these lists include everyone of importance from the king on down, and includes the rations they were given. But there is no mention of Daniel or any of his co-protagonists mentioned in the book of Daniel. That being said, some scholars believe there may have been an important wise man, but at the end of the day, who lived prior to the exile, or whatever. But according to Finkel, Irving, and Michael Seymour, who wrote Babylon 2008, actually page 155, they had over 30,000 names. The Babylonians kept very good records, my brother. And they didn't find no name, no Yasharel, no Israel. None of those names existed. And if you're saying that these people are Israelites, why is it that you're wearing a name that nobody could find? Why?
Was that sign for the question that found, Sam? For me to answer the question now?
Yeah, it's 2 minutes left.
Oh, okay. Brother Garfield, I don't have an answer on why you didn't find or there weren't certain names found inside of the Babylonian record, even though you said there were some other names that may have been in there. But I did read earlier that they did find in one of the ration lists Jehoiakim, who was king of Judah, and his family as receiving ration from the king. Correct? I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to ask the question again. I'm sorry.
But I'll give you that. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I don't have no problem with that. My problem is, my brother.
So as far as Daniel, as far as Daniel, why his name isn't there, brother, I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer for that, and that's not what I look to.
Why is your name not there? Why is your name not there?
Why my name not there? Oh, because Nebuchadnezzar ain't know the kid. He ain't know me.
All right. The next question. I'm going to ask this real quickly here. So, if can you show me a monotheistic people following a monotheistic system between 800 BC and 300 BC? Can you show me anybody that's following a monotheistic system that's following what you believe today? Anybody in history?
Anybody in history? Well, as far as me showing you, all I can do is show you that these people existed. As far as me having all information to every question you asking, I wouldn't be arrogant enough to say, oh, yeah, I can show you this, that, and the third and ramble on in something that I've never studied. I've gone to find in the research and bring to the table certain points that I want to make, but you can ask me some questions where there are points that I haven't made. But I will say this, is that when you find these kings, even as you dismissed the
All right, 8 minutes is up. Once again, this is the cross-examination part of this debate. Again, each person has prepared some questions to ask one another, and the person to answer the question has 1 minute to answer the question. However, they can answer the question as quick as possible due to the time constraints. So let's go to Zadok, who's going to ask questions to Garfield. Let me open up their phone lines, and you can go ahead with your questions.
Oh, okay. Brother Garfield.
Yes, sir.
Hey, man, I enjoy this, man, and you've been debating for a couple nights. I appreciate you being here, but I gotta hit you with these questions, bro. Now, check this out. Are you able to say assuredly that every nation that today is considered an ancient people, historical, they even teach them in schools and universities today, that there are, could you say that Israel is the only nation that has this conundrum which you speak of, or are there other nations that are written of and that are spoken of as being great people, but yet they have no historical evidence? There are no bodies, there are no tombs, there are no real archaeological. They're not even mentioned on stels like some of the stuff we read tonight. Is there any other people out here who is accepted today as historically existing people, and there's less information on them than some of the stuff I put out tonight on Israel and Judah?
To be honest, and I'm not an arrogant dude, I don't think anybody has been excavated as much as Israel. So I don't think a lot of people have as much information for people to look for as far as the history. They have the biggest archaeological foundations all over the world. So that you're going to find stuff. You dig for stuff, you're going to find stuff. That don't mean Israel, actually the nation existed. It just means that people existed. Geography doesn't mean that the people existed. It don't mean that, you know. But you might be right. There might be people, say like Persian stuff. You might not find as much Persian stuff as, you know, as Israel stuff or as Bible stuff. Let me say Bible stuff because Bible stuff covers a lot.
Okay. Now I appreciate the answer. Now follow me because I want to walk this into the idea of this thing being equally looked at across the board. Now I want to ask you something. Now there's a book that I have that's called The History of the Etruscan People, including their cities, art, society, rulers, and contributions to civilization. It's written by an author named Robert Giuseppe, right? Now, in this book, he makes this point. In 2002 is when the book was published. He makes this point in the opening of his book. The lack of Etruscan literature and the widely acknowledged bias and contradictory accounts of Greek and Roman writers creates a situation in which the careful study of the visible remains of the Etruscans is fundamental for understanding them. Now, he's saying that in the archaeological world, they admit that the Greeks and Romans were very biased and contradictory in their writings that the Greeks have about the Etruscans versus what the Romans wrote about the Etruscans. So it's clear that the Etruscans existed, but would you say that because there are, according to archaeologists, wide contradictory accounts of what the Greeks claim about the Etruscans and what the Romans claim about the Etruscans, would that be enough for you to say, well, since these stories are contradictory, the Etruscans couldn't have been a real people or their history is made up?
I'm going to say basically no. The Etruscans, they are real people. And the reason why, ladies and gentlemen, is because we can find I see what the brother is trying to do. It's a good tactic. It's not going to work. This is why. Okay. There's no contemporary evidence to match it with that time period. With the Greeks, it's different because there was a lot of writings. The Hellenistic period is different. So you have a writing today, and then 200 years later you could have another writing, or even the same time period. But with the Bible, we don't have no writings from it, my brother. We have something, the Moabite stone. I have to give that Shamash primary to the story because we know that in the 9th century, Shamash, there was a people that Moabites that did whatever. But we don't have no scripture at that time period to say, hey, let's match this up and see the time period. We don't have no biblical writings before 300 BC, and that kills the Bible believers. There's nothing. Okay. So you can't use that as an example. All right, go ahead, bro.
Okay. No, it was a great example. It was a great example. You acknowledged it yourself, but you try to explain your way out of it. I respect it. Let me ask you another question. I'm going to give you a quote from another book I have that's called The Archaeological History of the Carthaginian Imperialism, written by Nathan Pinkelton. Now, I'm going to quote this. This is the opening. Carthage is the least understood imperial actor in the ancient Mediterranean. The present lack of understanding is primarily a result of the paucity of evidence available for historical study. No continuous Carthaginian literary or historical narrative survives. None. Due to the nature of the Roman destruction and reuse of the sites, archaeology has allowed some things to be found in Carthage, but there is no continuous literary or historical narrative that survives. So besides the little bit that they find at Carthage and some Roman writings about the war with Hannibal, there is nothing to prove outside of that the Carthaginians existed. But would you go that route and say, well, I can't believe the Romans when they say, I fought this guy and he attacked us and we won? You would believe the Romans, correct?
I can't say yes or no because I would have to look at the situation and evaluate it instead of being. Ladies and gentlemen, let's not get it twisted. Garfield is biased when it comes to the Bible. I am very biased because at the end of the day, we have to look at things. But certain things I look at fairly. But when it comes to the Bible, because of my history of the Bible, I can be biased. There's certain
now
things
I have one more question.
Well, go ahead, brother.
I have one more question, and I thank you for that answer. So I just want to point out here that the Etruscans, who the Greeks and Romans claim to descend from, and then the Carthaginians, who the great Hannibal with his army of elephants attacked Rome, even though their counterparts write about them, there is no continual literary or historical narratives that survive in literature or writings about these people, except from the people who fought with them, similar to the Hittites with the Israelites, or similar to some things we've read on these steles. Now, let me ask you this. This is just a yes or no question. Are you familiar with the Taylor Prism, brother?
Yes.
Okay. Now, on the Taylor Prism, which is a highly preserved Assyrian document, is it not written exactly this? On this six-sided prism that was contains all the wars of Sennacherib himself, it says this. He says this. I shut up Hezekiah the Judite within Jerusalem, his own royal city, like a caged bird. Now, is that not a mention of Jerusalem? Because you said Jerusalem and things like that.
I never said that. No, brother. You're assuming. You see, the problem is, you see, everything that you have shown, my brother, you have not shown Israelites. You have shown Judeans and Judean kings. And then kings who you claim are in Samaria, there's nobody saying that they're Israelites. They're saying they're house of Omri, or they call them Sumerians. This is what the history shows, the land of Omri.
Okay.
Now, with Sennacherib...
Hey, brother, so I have no problem with that. The Bible does call Hezekiah king of Judah, and it does call in the Bible Omri, and it calls even Jeroboam king of Samaria, correct? In the Bible it's written kings of Samaria, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, guys, we are back. Once again, you're live listening to Debate Talk Free Radio, and you're officially inside the Lion's Den. That's right. We have a lot more show for you guys. We're going to go to the public Q&A. We're going to go to the people to hear what you guys got to say about these debates. What this debate right here in particular, archaeology in the Bible, is the name Israel documented in history before 300 BC? And you heard all the shout-outs out there. If you want to send your shout-out to the show, you can play it live on the air. All you got to do is get access to a studio, or if you have a voice recorder on your cell phone, you can record a shout-out and keep it like maybe under 1 minute. And send it to debatetalkforyou@gmail.com. That's debatetalk 4u@gmail.com, and we'll play it live on the air. Once again, I appreciate all the support out there for the people that sent their shout-outs to Debate Talk for You. So let's go to the people, though. We got to see what the people got to say about this debate. Hopefully, you guys take down some notes. Once again, we're going to go to the people. It's going to be by a couple, maybe 35, 45-minute segments. Taking questions from the people and comments from the people. I'm going to let you guys know in advance. If you're calling in, please, there's no foul language. We don't do the cursing in the show. We have people listening with their kids. If you're calling in, keep it clean. And, of course, be as brief as possible. Do the high volume of callers. So let's go to the people. Let's see what they got to say. Let's go to 314-680. You're live on air.
Man, what's up? Peace, Garfield, Zadok, and Sal.
What's going
Peace,
on?
my big brother. Peace, my little brother, big brother, whichever way.
What's going on, man? Me and Garfield, we talk a lot, but, man, come on, Garfield. You made a lot of mistakes tonight, bro. And, Sal, we need to get together, man, and do a show, man, and me and you, Zadok, man, and go in on some points, man, because this brother made some mistakes tonight. He talking about the linguist and talking about Flinders Petrie. The brother didn't realize that Champollion had his hand in this, and he spoke 5 languages. He don't realize.
What's your question? Come on.
Hold on. I can comment. Question, brother. Hold on, brother. And this brother made a lot of mistakes, man. And for somebody that don't realize about archaeology, let me mention this real quick. Furthermore, there's no scholar, no linguistics that has not proven that Israel was not a place, nor Jerusalem, that was mentioned, which Brother Zadok mentioned when he mentioned Judah and those kings, the saying that those were not Israelites or not Israel. That's number one. Number two is we have a whole temple just standing right there. Brother, you didn't messed up. And you didn't have Grecians that came into this temple, Assyrians, Medes and Persians destroyed this temple and dealt with these kings and synchronized with these kings. And you are saying that there is no mention of Israel? No, there is a argument about Israel in Kemet, but when you deal with the synchronicity between the other kings, there is no argument, brother. Sal, you need to let us open this brother up next week or something and come on where we just, man, this brother terrible, man.
All right,
that's all I got to say, man.
Yeah, let Garfield reply. Go ahead, Garfield.
I'm not going to reply to that. I'm good.
All right, Zadok, you want to say anything? Go ahead.
Hey, I didn't get to hear the discussion that y'all brothers had last night. I wish I would have just to get a feel for how it went between you guys. But at the end of the day, I'm just here to prove that one, Israel as a people did exist. Samaria, which the brother said clearly, and Judah were names that Israel went by because the kingdom had split. So they weren't always called Israel as one because the Bible clearly tells us that after the days of Solomon, they split into two factions who even had war with each other at that time. So, I just want to prove that Israel isn't just a concept in a word, but it's a concept of a nation and following the things that the Bible say. So I'm hoping that's what people are getting tonight, that these kings existed, Jerusalem existed, and things of that nature.
All right, going to go to the next caller. Once again, it's Debate Talk Free Radio. You know that number, 646-716-7320. I see we have a lot of Skype callers out there. If you're an international listener, you got to call in via Skype. If you have a question, just press the number 1. Once you dial the number 1 Skype, press the number 1, and we can add you in the conversation. All right, so we're going to go to the next person, though. Let's go to 252-883. You're live there.
Peace, Brother Sal. Peace, Brother Zadok and Brother Garfield. How y'all doing
Peace,
tonight?
brother.
This is Brother
Peace,
Rahim,
brother.
representing New York. What's going on?
Pretty good, brother.
All right. I just want to ask Zadok one question real quick before I go into my other. Are you the same Zadok that said the Quran is Satan?
What did I do a teaching on it? No, I don't think I ever did a teaching on the Quran.
No, not a teaching, but you said it was Satan or evil. Are you the Zadok? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
But where did you hear that? Because I do believe that, but where did you get that from?
From one of the shows. I have it documented.
Oh, on here. Oh, probably when I was debating the Imam guy.
Yeah, Bashir. Okay, so it was you. Okay, cool. So
okay, I got that straight.
What I wanted to ask Garfield was, are you saying that the word Israel with an I or Yisrael didn't exist?
I'm saying that the word itself never existed before we see it in the Bible. And the reason why I'm saying that is because this is why I brought up the whole thing about Israel from the original, my original first statement, because I was talking about it from a linguistic point of view. Now,
right.
As far as what happened also is that the debate, we got a little mix up here because the debate is supposed to show archaeology before 300 BC of Israel. But I was thinking about the debate in that direction. I was even, it went in another direction, of course, misunderstanding. But my thinking is that it's not there before 300 BC. And we didn't even have that great discussion. We ended up going in another route, but, it is what it is. Yes, sir.
All right, because I think, as you know, the cuneiform text of the Alba text and later found a Moabite stone, you talked about that, and in Ergut, which is YSR apostrophe IL, which Il would mean the deity. And it says as that of a craftsman. So, and you talked about the Mercatar spelling and all that. What I'm trying to figure out, are you saying Yisrael existed, but Israel, the word, didn't exist for the people?
Yeah, that's basically what I'm saying. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, okay. Well, basically, you're right. So I don't have no more comments. But good debate. I want to ask Zadok one quick question. Do you have any text saying Israel before 300 BC on right now that you can say right quick?
Yeah, I can, Brother Rahim. And basically, I'm going to bring up another one that I haven't brought up so far. But I'm going to go to what is called, and I'm pretty sure that the Brother Garfield has heard of the Shalmaneser obelisk. King Shalmaneser.
I got that. Yeah,
okay.
I got that.
And when you read the I'm just going to read one quote from the Shalmaneser obelisk. Now, all the other nations and the kings who he named in the cities, they will not be questioned. The only one that's going to be questioned in this translation is Israel. But this is what it says. This is part of the Shalmaneser obelisk. And in his inscription, he writes, I departed from Argana and approached Kagar. I destroyed, tore down, and burned Kagar, his royal residence. he brought 12 kings to his support. So now he's going to say these are the people I fought who were basically his allies. He said, they came against me to offer battle and fight. They had 1,200 chariots, 1,200 cavalry, 20,000 soldiers belonging to Hadadezer of Damascus, which the Bible speaks of, 700 chariots, 700 cavalry, and 10,000 soldiers belonging to Ahulani of Hamath, 2,000 chariots, and 10,000 soldiers belonging to Ahab the Israelite.
Okay. And that's before 300 BC?
Yes, that's before 300 BC. That's actually from the 9th century BC. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yes, that's from the year about 840 or so, like that, whatever they date it to be. That is way before.
Can I say something? Can I say something real quickly? Was there in any language a word ite at the end, a suffix? Did that exist? It didn't exist then, brother. Not they say no Israelite. Somebody made that up, man. Somebody made that up. It didn't exist. That suffix did not exist. So we know that he didn't say that. So whoever found it claims it said that. But this is the problem. This is the problem.
And that's the only name. But Brother Garfield, you jumped in it. Now you answered the question. Then you jumped in on my question, but
I'm
you
sorry.
also
My
have
bad.
to.
My bad.
No, it's cool because I know that's your point, and I thank Brother Raheem for asking the question. But this is the thing: these people don't. Everyone isn't out to prove Israel existed. In the translation, he's naming Hadadezer, the king of Damascus. You got the king Elkanah, you got the king Matubalu, you got king Usanata, you got king Basa, king Rahubi, and when he said Ahab the Israelite, all of a sudden that's wrong. But when he said Hadadezer of Damascus or Hulini of Hamath, those aren't questioned. Y'all only questioning Israel, and that's false. I mean, it's there.
Because
it's on y'all
it's not about false, brother. It's because of the influence. Okay. Listen, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. But the purpose of Zionists, and most of these guys are funded. This is what happened with the Ebla, that messed up the whole Ebla tablets too. Because Petinato, they found out he was being funded by Zionists. That's why he got kicked off the team. And that's why when he printed his report about the Ebla, what he was saying in public is not the same thing he published. But everybody's saying Abraham is there and from the Bible, and they got 5 cities, Sodom and Gomorrah, which is not true. But because of Zionist influence, they want to prove the Bible so bad because of this little island that they talk about that's owed to them, Canaan, because of biblical scripture. Everything in the world is based on biblical scripture. So that means I'm going to go and find Armana letters or anything and research and try to prove the Bible. This is what these people do. This is why you have so many different mindsets. But I understand your premise, though. I understand, and I respect it because you're a fair dude. But based on the Assyrian inscriptions and what people have written about it, I'm telling you, it doesn't say Israel. It says Israel.
Okay, brother.
All right, once again, we're going to go to
brother.
the people.
Thank you, Brother Raheem.
Yeah, his call actually dropped, but call back, brother. Once again, it's your time, guys. It's your time. If you have any questions or comments, the number is 646-716-7320. Archaeology in the Bible is the name Israel documented in history before 300 BC. You have any questions or comments? This is your time. Let your voice be heard. Let's go to the next person. Let's go to 423-320. You're live on air.
Yes, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, this is Sister Diane from Tennessee. I didn't have too much to say, but I just want to ask, Garfield? I mean, I want to ask him, does he believe in the Bible?
Hey, no, sister, I don't believe the Bible is the word of God. No, I don't. I think it's the word of man. It's point blank.
Israel is documented in Genesis.
Okay, that's fine, sister. If you have a manuscript from back then, we could talk. You don't have any documentation.
There is the ultimate manuscript. You need none other. If you don't believe that, then I have nothing more to say.
All right. Thank you, sister. Thanks for the call, sister. And keep listening.
All right. Sister Diane, appreciate you calling in. Zadok, you want to reply before we go to the next person? Go ahead.
No, she just, I guess she didn't get the point that that the brother doesn't believe that the Bible is the word of God. So hopefully she understands that now.
All right, let's go to the next person. Let's go to 313-571. You're live in air.
Shalom, shalom, my brother Sal, Showtime, brothers Zadok, you did a good job, Hebrew. And
shalom.
My brother Garfield, man, we chopped it up real good last night. And again, I got to give it to you. You put up a good fight. Now, I'm really glad to see you got out of bed last night, because if any of y'all get a chance, check out the post show on LaRon's radio show last night. Because I dropped something so hard on the brother, I could have sworn I heard his heart stop. So it's good to see you still kicking, brother. It's good to see you still kicking. Now, let me say something. Okay. Zadok, I'm glad you didn't fall for it. You know what I'm saying? Because, yeah, the brother is, man, he has a great charisma about him. But if you sit there and listen to him close, he hung himself about 6 times in his debate. Okay. First, let me deal with, like the brother Zadok pointed out earlier, you went to a manuscript from another nation that mentioned Samaria. And you said, well, see, that's another nation. It's never Israel, like my brother pointed out. I can go to Hosea chapter 7, and it reads verse 1. When I would have healed Israel, then the iniquity of Ephraim was discovered, and the wickedness of Samaria, for they committed falsehood. And you can find this about 20 other spots in the Bible where Samaria was one of the names for the nation of Israel. We even called ourselves that. So basically what you told us in layman's terms was that other manuscript mentioned Israel, mentioned one of our names. So whack, there go the sword, there go your right arm. So I hope you left-handed. Hold up, I got a couple more slices for you. And then you said, I heard you ask the brother, can you name anybody from more recent time, like during slavery or anything like that, that had Israel in his name?
No.
Okay, I don't want to misquote you. I don't want to misquote you, brother. What did you say?
I said, can he tell me of anybody in that time period who wore his name Zadok Ben Israel? I was referring to Israel.
Oh, okay.
Any common person. But
okay, I apologize.
Are you asking a question?
No, let me finish, brother. Let me finish. I apologize, brother.
First question.
Okay, I just wanted to say something then. Well, for anybody that's listening, if y'all want to go look up anything around the history of slavery time, if you want to find some more people with the name Israel, it was actually a whole city of them. It's called Israel Hill. You can look it up. It was right here in the South during slavery. You had a whole community of people that knew they was Israelites who was descendants of the slaves. So, and that was around the 17th, 18th century, somewhere up in there. Okay, one more thing you brought up earlier. Now I noticed that you said when it came to Zadok's argument, you said he needed some linguistic majors. You didn't want to hear from no scholars. Yet all you quoted was scholars because you admit you're not a linguistic major. See, what y'all do is try to handicap Israel because y'all like 0-8 against the Hebrews. We understand that. That's why Kemet can't beat us in no debate because we possess the oracles. Yeah, I'm getting cocky right now. So I'm going to say this. It is very simple, people. Go back and research the whole Hebrew language. When you check back its origins, the Hebrew language, which is Hebrew, goes back to ancient Phoenicia and Canaan. So if you hear names that's similar in the Hebrew, of course it's going to sound similar to Canaanite and Phoenician. Just like when they came here in America, they thought them was Hebrew writings. No, it was ancient Phoenician writing. That can be proven. That's why you have Phoenix, Arizona, because Phoenix comes from Phoenician. That's one strike. That's another whack. There go another arm. I also want to say when you brought up.
Hold on, Mikael. You got a question, brother.
First of all, what debate was this guy listening to? What was he listening to? I said to the brothers that I don't want to get into one scholar. You say a scholar says, and I say a scholar says, because it's dumb. It's dumb to do that. It's not going to prove anything. Now, if you bring out linguistics, what you do when you talk about what words mean and so forth. So if I say to Brother Zadok right now, and I don't want him to answer, to tell me what the Myrna Patah says from right to left or left to right, that's a linguistic conversation we can have. We don't need an expert for that. We could say, hey, the two leads or the two reeds mean two eyes, or this could be changed into a Y, and this makes a J sound or a ch sound or an E motion sound. You know, we could have that conversation. We don't need scholars for that. Me and him can have it. We don't have to be experts. We just go by what we know. That's all I'm referring to. As far as what he said about Israel in the whole community thing, the Israel Hill argument is the, oh my God, I don't even know how to respond to that. But ladies and gentlemen, it's clear and simple. Listen, if you want to know about Israel, if you notice what Zadok did, he never showed any king. There are kings, ladies and gentlemen, of Samaria. That's not Israel. Ancient Samaria is not Israel. Israel, it was put into the history, just like with the Moabites. That's why I was showing Shamash, and they changed it to Yah. Even the story that he brought about Sennacherib, or whatever, the Assyrian king. He said 185,000 people were killed in the Bible. Now, Sennacherib doesn't say that. He says something different. But whose word are we going to take? So if he's using that as evidence, is he going to take the Assyrian word, or is he going to take the Bible? He's going to take the Bible. So if I'm saying that the Bible can't be used as a witness because it never existed before 300 BC, how are we going to use the Bible as a contemporary witness when we have other writings that predate it? Whose word are you going to take? So if you're saying that this word says Israel, we don't know about nobody was talking about no Israel until you had a Bible. Point blank. This is why I asked the brother earlier, let's take every culture out. Let's take Assyria out, Babylon, Persian, all of them. And let's go find Israel. Let's go find it. You can.
Go ahead, Zadok. You can reply, brother. Go ahead.
Well, all I'll say is that I just blatantly read what's called the Black Obelisk or the monolith inscription of Shalmaneser. He said that he fought against Ahab the Israelite. So at the end of the day, he is. I understand the brother, and I understand some of the Kemetic gentlemen who coming from the Merneptah stele. They say, okay, well, when you look at the Merneptah stele and you see that this here says this, we believe those European linguists wrong. We believe this from our understanding of the glyphs to be saying Jezreel. Okay, cool. But then he runs into every other tongue. So the Assyrians, the Babylonians, anywhere where they possibly mentioned Israel, he says, no, that should be Jezreel as well. So my name should be Zadok Ben Israel. It's basically...
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
No, that's not what you said, but I'm coming to that conclusion. Because everywhere in history that I've showed Israel, he says that it should say Jezreel. So the Assyrian king, Shalmaneser, should have said, I fought Ahab the Jezreelite. And I don't believe that. I believe it's supposed to be Israel. He just can't accept it is. But the people listening tonight have to consider, because my point of view is already, my stance is already known. I'm firm in my belief, and Garfield's stance is known. So this is for the people to decide from the information tonight, what do they believe? And they should go and continue to research and hopefully come to some concrete conclusions for their own understanding and not just rely on myself or Brother Garfield.
All right, once again, you're listening to Debate Talk for you. You're in the Lions Den. Any questions or comments, you know that number, 646-716-7320. So let's go to the next person. Let's go to 662-588. You're live on air. 662-588. You're live on Debate Talk for you radio. Going once, 662. Going twice. All right, we've got to move on to the next person. Let's go to 562-479. You're live in air.
Yes, I want to ask some questions about the Jordan Reid Hoodies.
Garfield.
No, from Zadok. He had mentioned the Jordan Reid Codice as evidence for the attack of the Babylonians and King Cyrus.
I'm sorry, brother. You said that I mentioned what? I'm not sure what that was.
The Jordan Reid Codice about a general who had these metal binders or tablets that was defending a fortified city. Or 45 gates, or 45 cities.
Oh, you talking about? No, I'm sorry. I mentioned the Lachish letters. Is that what it's referring to, brother?
Yeah, the Lachish letters.
Okay. No, I didn't. I'm sorry. Ask your question, brother.
What is your source on these letters?
Well, the letters are actually held by the Europeans today. You do know this, correct?
No, I'm talking about if we like they got listeners out here, if they would want to go and research these letters, where would they go and look for them at?
Okay. Okay, no, hold on. I got you, bro.
Because
go back to,
okay, let me finish. Because in reference to Cyrus, king of Babylon, the Bible speaks the 300 BC Septuagint speaks of Cyrus being a deliverer of the Babylonian captives. And Cyrus, the king of Cyrus, wrote a cylinder called the Cyrus cylinder. And so your defense of why Israel wasn't mentioned in Cyrus, the king of the world at that time, why he didn't mention the people of Judea in the cylinder, was because then you brought up the letters, the Lachish letters. What can we find from that?
Okay, I got you. No, I'm sorry, brother. As far as the Lachish letters, those letters were referring to the way before the Persian Empire. Those letters that were found in Israel were referring to the soldiers who actually had to watch God for the cities of Azekah and Lachish to fall. So they watched for the fires lit every night, which were the signs from inside the city that the city still stood and hadn't been taken. That was actually Nebuchadnezzar's campaign. I didn't use those in reference to when Brother Garfield brought up, I believe, the Cyrus cylinder and Israel not being mentioned. I believe when he said, why weren't they mentioned, I told him that I had no answer for why they weren't mentioned on that cylinder by the name of Israel or Judah.
All right, Garfield, you can reply. Right.
No, I mean, at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, listen, every king that he mentioned may have lived. I will not debate that. The issue is the whole of this whole Israelite thing, how it was developed. These people, ladies and gentlemen, were all polytheists, by the way, throughout the whole history and we know that there was some monotheistic feel to what the Bible says. So if the Bible condemns all this stuff, why is it their whole history is about polytheism, about worshiping other gods, Yahweh and Asherah and Banat and this God and that God, but yet still in the Bible, you condemn it, they condemn it in the Bible, but their history. The Judeans were worshiping multiple gods in Judea. The people in Samaria, they were worshiping a lot of God, but then the Bible says, we condemn them, and the tribes were kicked out in 2 Kings 17. But the point of the matter is, ladies and gentlemen, there is no people called Israel mentioned by the Persians, by the Babylonians. There's no Israelites. Where are they? No Hebrews, nobody. These are those people. They don't have a name. Where is this Israelite name? This Israelite kingdom. Because most of these things that are found, ladies and gentlemen, we don't research them. So when you have the Tel dynasty lessons, it says the House of David, go research it. There's a lot of controversy with that right now, because when they're drafting out of the Aramaic, they removed the Y in the Hebrew, and the Y is symbolizing, I think, feminine. And, it's just a whole brouhaha about these translations. So when I thought I was going to have a linguistic so we could talk about these things, but we end up about if Israel exists. And I mean, it is what it is. But thanks for the call, my brother.
All right, going to move on to the next call. We have a whole lot of callers out here. Person number one, I appreciate you participating in Debate Talk Free Radio. Let's go to the next caller. Let's go to 615-578. You're live in the air.
Yeah, peace. Peace to both debaters, Garfield, Zadok. What up, Sal? I just have a quick question for Garfield. If we were to go, let's say, just 500 years from today, and someone asks you about a group of people that they call today the Puerto Ricans, right? These Puerto Ricans, now, they can only be documented probably within the last I would say even 500 years. You probably couldn't even find the people called the Puerto Ricans even going back nowhere near 3000 BC documented in terms of records. So the reason why I ask that is, would you say, I mean, according to your logic, I hear what you're saying, there's some truth in terms of lack of evidence, but would you say then that you would say in the future, based on your logic now, that the Puerto Ricans never existed?
No, I wouldn't say that. And that's
well, then how would you prove?
And that's not my logic either. My logic is there's no evidence, no archaeological evidence that Israel is mentioned, and that's what the debate should have been about. But at the end of the day, hold on, brother. Now, as far as Puerto Ricans, I don't know, my brother. I don't know. I don't even know how to answer you right now, to be honest.
No, I'm saying the reason, because Puerto Ricans do exist, but there's no document. Well, it's the same logic, actually. That's what I'm saying. There's no documentation that goes back. Not like I said, maybe 500 years of any people ever called it Puerto Rico. You have them going by another name, like the Arawak Indians. But even with the Arawak, there's no records of them going back to 300 BC that I know of. So I'm asking you, based upon your argument tonight, how would you prove that these people existed in history, in ancient history? Or could we say that they were in the history recently and they just made up their whole culture and but they really don't exist?
Yeah, because you know what, my brother, the difference between Puerto Rico and Israel is that the Puerto Ricans aren't claiming to be the people of God. They're not claiming exclusivity. So I can't zero in. Hold on. So I can't zero in on Puerto Ricans the way I zero in on so-called Israelites. The point is, brother, when you have David and Solomon, who they say that Solomon ruled all the way from the Euphrates all the way back around, come all the way around, and guess what? We can't find this Solomon. We can't find that he did anything. These are serious concerns, brother. These are serious concerns. And if Solomon didn't exist, it goes back to the whole thing about Noah and Abraham and Joshua, Joseph, Elijah, Elisha. If all these characters are made up, bro, it's like a movie.
You kind of went away. I understand what you're saying. You went away. You answered my question. Basically, the logic changes when we bring God into play. That's basically what you just said.
When it's God's people. Mm-hmm. It's a religion.
All right. So you're biased against God, so your scholarship changes.
Oh, my God. Oh, boy.
But I hear you. Peace. That's all I have to say. But I would always like to ask you, there's also a South American named Montezuma. Do we have his body, or can we confirm that he existed outside than from the writings of the Europeans who came into South America? And would you say because we don't have his body, earlier writings?
You're asking like 100 questions. My brother.
Well, because I'm trying to get to the root of the logic of what you're saying in terms of
the root
Israel
of the
not
logic
existing.
Is that Israel as a united kingdom never existed, and that's being smart. There's no evidence of a David and Solomon ruling. If you notice Zadok never mentioned David and Solomon the whole time.
I think we see where you're coming from, brother.
He's smart.
All right.
He's smart.
I appreciate your call. Zadok, you can reply.
Well, I'll say this. I think the brother for the point that he was making, and the point he's making is clear, is that he used Montezuma. He used some of the great kings of Teotihuacan and the Aztec kings who are mentioned by Europeans, but outside of that, we don't have the tombs with their bodies on display. We don't have writings necessarily about them, but you have writings from them, but you have writings about them, and you have some remains where you can say, hey, this city did belong to this people. At the end of the day, in the group that the brother Garfield is in control over, that the Kemetic Hebrew Israelite group, I asked one of the Kemetic gentlemen in that group about the dynasty lineup of the ancient kings of Egypt. And I called him out there because the same logic that Brother Garfield is using, and he said I was smart to not bring up David and Solomon. I didn't bring up David and Solomon because I was strictly going for naming kings who were called Israelite. I proved that Shalmaneser said he fought Ahab the Israelite. Brother Garfield would have to prove, and others would have to prove, that not only in Egypt, on the Merneptah still, that's Jezreel, but they got to prove that in any other language, possibly in the Assyrian language, that word is Jezreel. See, in Assyrian in Egypt is not the same tongue. Now, when I asked the brother about the pharaonic dynastic line, because we know that families would destroy families, the Egyptians now have been historically proven to try to wipe out names of other families. That don't mean that they didn't exist. And I asked about famous kings. So there are kings who are famous, did some public works, and so their names remain on some public works. And some bones or coffins have been found. But there are names in this whole pharaonic dynastic list. You could go from one king, from like Ramesses, who they found, and then you could skip 4 or 5 kings until they find another king. So the kings in between, whose bodies and tombs haven't been found, but their name is written, could we say they didn't exist? Could we say that the first king of Egypt, who really comes out of Mesopotamia, who they don't have his tomb, they don't have his body, can we say what his name was or who he was or wasn't? The United Kingdom of Israel only existed for a short window, if you want to even call it the United Kingdom, when all the tribes looked to one king. And that one king, the 2 kings, was David and his son Solomon. After that, within 2 generations, the kingdom was broken in 2. So the concept that he's saying, you don't find a united works written of Israel, but you do find Ahab the Israelite, and you find Jehu, and you find Joash being said to pay tribute, the kings of Judah. So we got Judah and we got Samaria, but we don't have the word as abundant. But I have shown a couple places where the word Israel was written in the 7th, 8th century, and his claim is, no, that word is Jezreel. Okay.
All right, got to take some more of these calls. We're going to take some more of these calls. We're going to take a few more calls, and after that, we're going to go to the final statement. Once again, we're going to take a few more calls. We have a lot of people out here. Hopefully, I can get to, as much people as possible. Let's see. Let's go to 870-755, live on air.
Peace to everybody. Israel Doctrine, a.k.a. Carl Albert. Peace to everybody that's listening, debating, and so on and so forth. I would just like to say, at the end of the day, I get tired of everybody dissing my brother Yosef Ben Jackanah, Dr. Ben, due to the fact that this man, which his early works was African, the mother of Western civilization, the black man of the Nile, and different stuff like this in 1971, 72. 1973, wrote a book, The Chronology of the Bible, right? Now, all these scholars, they love Dr. Ben when they do different stuff about his YouTubes and stuff, how he diss the Bible and stuff. They like to bring that up, but they never bring up his text. He got a chronology of the Bible. In the chronology of the Bible, he names all these Israelites, and he give you times and dates on it. Now, you would have to say he's a pseudo-scholar at this point if you don't want to accept his chronology and his times and dates on these individuals that's in the Bible. I know Zadok didn't bring that to the table, but Garfield stayed down the street from the man. I believe he tried to visit him or have visited him. Shaka Upmost bring him up. Now, after 1973, 10 years later, he came out with We the Black Jews. Now, if black Jews don't exist, and we know the history of Jews to go back to Israelites and Hebrews through any historical text that you can find today, seeing that chronology starts at this date and time and go all the way back, right? That's how chronology works. So what he's talking about tonight, he's not truly talking chronology because he didn't tell us about the Jews of the day. He didn't tell us going back. And we know that every Afrocentric scholar recognized Tahar and Hezekiah. So now you're going to tell me that don't exist? When everybody from Shaka to Polite to all the people in the House of Consciousness to all the other people that you find on TRS and other places, they cannot deny Tahar and Hezekiah. Pianki that calls into shows talk about it all the time. He said an angel didn't save them, Tahar saved them. So either this is actual history of it's not or it's not. So stop acting like this stuff is not true. It's out there. You can question it all day and put doubt in other people's hearts that are not as scholarly or not looking and reading.
All right, what's the question? What's the question?
All
what's the question?
Going down.
What's
it's
the
not
question,
a question.
Bro?
Well, let me end with one question. Why don't you quote the chronology of Dr. Ben and give it any credit, or then quote it and give it any credit in this debate?
Because the reason why I don't quote Dr. Ben as far as the chronology is concerned, because I didn't know that Dr. Ben was God, so everything that he says or repeats is 100% correct. I love Dr. Ben. I love what he brought to the table. I continue to support him any way I can as far as buying his books or supporting his books, and I'll never disrespect him. But ladies and gentlemen, listen, you have to do your own research. Brother Zay that just said it a while ago. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, there's history right now from the Ageptica from Manetho and the guy who wrote Ageptica before Manetho, who talks about a Moses. He talks about a Moses who led his scouts out of Egypt and went into Jerusalem, and he was the one that started all of that. So I don't need Dr. Ben to tell me about the chronology because I know what the story and where it came from. Dr. Ben never dealt with the root of the Bible because he grew up as a Falasha Jew. So that was his religion, just like how I grew up being a Christian. So now, if somebody want to tell me that somebody, a historian, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, in the 4th century, wrote before Manetho that Moses, ladies and gentlemen, led the Hyksos after the Ramesside expulsion, led them into Jerusalem. That's not even in your Bible. That's history. So who should I believe now? There was no Bible tradition. Obviously, the person got that story from somewhere. So what are we talking about? Why are we playing this game about Dr. Ben said it, so it must be true? And if you follow Dr. Ben, you got to accept everything he says. And he teaches Egyptology. And I'm sure Israel doctrine don't believe in Egyptology. So let's not play this game. But Dr. Ben said it. But let me say it. Hold on, bro. Let me finish my statement. Let me say this, ladies and gentlemen. Search for yourself. You don't need nobody. You have people that will introduce you to stuff. But don't be gullible. Just like how we have been gullible in North America, accepting this Bible as our history. And every thing that he found contradicts the story. Because if we really get into that black obelisk, ladies and gentlemen, that contradicts the Bible. That contradicts the Bible too. So every artifact that we find that he's claiming Israel on it, the story that the Bible tells, tell a different story.
Well, you answered the question. Let me say something right quick.
Nobody said Hezekiah. Hold on. Nobody ever said Hezekiah. I never said that. Nobody's saying that Judea didn't exist. Nobody's saying vassal kingdoms didn't exist because there was a big olive oil industry in the 800s. So that's how the Assyrians started using the Judea as the buffer state because of the location. So the point of the matter is, brother, the kings existed. That nobody's denying that, but they weren't not Israelites. They had their own name.
Garfield,
you can't rename people whatever you want.
That's the same thing that Lex just said. Just because they didn't carry the name Israel then, that's just like people changing their name. Just because someone is not carrying that name, when they go and change that name, that don't change who they are. That's all you arguing now, that their name was in Israel when they wrote this right here. I mean, when people write stuff, they call it by whatever name they want to. But if you know who they are, you know their bloodline, and you know the history of them and how it came about, then you got it. Well, I'm cool. I'm through. I'm finna leave because this is kind of like nonsense to me. I just wanted to say my piece and ask you that question. You're not a Dr. Ben student or scholar that follows Dr. Ben. That's good. Thanks.
All right, Zadok, you want to jump in? You want to reply? Go ahead.
Well, as far as Dr. Ben goes, he would have to rely on Manetho heavy. And Manetho is considered by many to be the father of Egyptology, if you will. Like the first one to chronologize.
Not true, Zadok.
I said, did you hear what I said? Now, I know about Herodotus, but I said many believe Manetho to be the father of Egyptology, in the sense that all Egyptologists up to a point use Manetho as the source for their kings list and for the history of the kings. He has the earliest writing on the kings. So at the end of the day, Just like Eusebius said in the 4th century. He said, look, several Egyptian kings ruled at the same time. And when many people use Manetho and they talk about Egypt and then they compare the time and this, that, and the third, one problem with the chronology is found in that book. What's that book? The History of Egypt, that book written by the dude Breasted. When he talked about how Manetho actually, when he made the king's list, and it looked like it's written one after the other, you got 2 or 3 kings who ruled at the same time, because when the empire was broken, the same way that Israel had a king of Samaria and a king of Judah at the same time, like in the case of Ahab and Jehoshaphat, who ruled at the same time, in Egypt, you had kings who ruled at the same time. Some ruled upper, some ruled lower when the empire wasn't all together. But in the chronology, people write them as if they came one after another. And that stuff, if Garfield and others be honest, even that stuff is being debated as heavy as the Tel Dan stone he talked about earlier being debated heavy.
I agree. I actually agree with that.
Right. And so if this is being debated heavy, then even the dates when people saying, well, the Israelites couldn't exist at this time is going to all fall out the window if and when people start to recalculate chronology, because that's going to take about 500, 600 years off of the time people been trying to disprove the nation of Israel couldn't exist at this time because this guy did this at this time. It's a whole bunch of stuff out here, so I just want people to know, and what Garfield quoted, what I quoted earlier, do not rely on Garfield Reid and Zadok Ben Israel as your sources, be-all, end-alls. Please do your research so you can stand sure on the direction of what it is that you're going to tell the next man that you know to be truth or lie. Please, people.
All right. Once again, it's Debate Talk Radio. Let's go to the next person.
Before you go to the next person, ladies and gentlemen, you need to understand something. Manetho was not the first person to write about Egypt. They had people before him, not Herodotus. I'm talking about Hectabius of Abdera. I'm talking about Hectaeus of Miletus. He had several people that wrote about Egypt before. I got tons of writers. The point is, ladies and gentlemen, why would somebody write in the 4th century that Moses from Egypt to Jerusalem, that is not in the Bible? Why is a historian writing that? And we have verified sources to back it up. Look at what, let me just say, give me 1 minute, Sal, 30 seconds. Asarseth, as a renegade Egyptian priest who leads an army of lepers and other unclean people against a pharaoh named Amenhotep. The pharaoh is driven out of the country, and the leper army, in alliance with the Hyksos, ravage Egypt, committing many sacrileges against the gods before Amenhotep returns and expels them. Towards the end of the story, Asarseth changes his name to Moses. All right? So now, where did Manetho get this story from about Moses? Because when Manetho was around, there was no Bible for him to copy from. There was no Bible. So what we look at the writer before Moses, before Manetho. He wrote the same story about Moses was with the expelled Hyksos. So the question now you have to ask your question now. Are the Hyksos the Israelites? And every one of them are going to deny it. You know why? Because the Hyksos were expelled. There's no history of an exodus. That means if Moses was in Jerusalem, which is not in the Bible, there you go again, ladies and gentlemen. History contradicts the Bible. Contradicts it. So this is my point I wanted to bring about Manetho. Not that we need Manetho. And if Dr. Ben is an Egyptologist, as the brother said, I know he already knew this. So for him to come and try to bring Dr. Ben in to try to swiggle our way out of it, come on, man, stop that. Don't do that, man. Don't play that game. Don't do that. Go ahead.
All right, let's go to the people. We have a whole lot of questions. I'm going to take maybe 2 or 3 more, though. 2 or 3 more questions, and after that, we're going to go to the final statements. Can't get to everybody. Wish I could, but I can't. So let's go to the next person. Let's go to 414-339. You're live in the air. 414-339.
Shalom. Yeah, I mean, Brother Garfield is a good guy. I mean, everybody got their own philosophies. Well, what you see going on right now with the whole conscious community and Kemet banging on the Bible is just Psalm
not
30.
Not Kemet, brother. Not Kemet. Not
Kemet, Africa, Pan Africa, back to Africa, Afrocentric, whatever red, black, and green you want to slap on it, whatever paint you want to paint it with.
Not me.
All you seeing right now is the manifestation of Psalms 83. Nobody wants the name Israel to be in existence. That's the thing. That's the big thing. You banging on the Bible at the same time you're proving the Bible right. Everybody that say Israel never existed, you just proving the Bible right. That's prophecy. That's cool. That's fine. That's done. But if you are you saying that Israel never existed, or that was never a people? This is a made up name.
Actually, you know what? I don't think the name Israel existed at all. I think it's
So wait, hold on.
In fact, it's an invention.
I
think it's an invention.
The name never existed, or the
Hold on. Let him answer, and then you go reply after.
The name never existed, or the people never existed.
Hold on.
Listen. The people were not Israelites. Period.
Okay. So King Hezekiah, he wasn't an Israelite.
No, he wasn't. He's King Hezekiah.
King Manasseh of Israel.
There you
he
go
was
again.
An Israelite.
There's nobody called it that, bro. Who information from? Without the Bible, you can't call it Israel.
Brother,
you can't call it Israel without the Bible.
Brother, where did these kings rule? Who did these kings rule, and where did they come from?
Where they come from? Samaria, or they come from Judea. These are places, brother. This is geography.
Listen, brother, listen. If he say, I'm King Hezekiah of the kingdom of Judah, where did Hezekiah come from? Where did Judah come from? They got to come from somewhere. Because your whole argument is that
listen, brother, they're all Canaanites.
Listen, brother,
they're all Canaanites.
Listen, brother,
that's where they are from.
They're all
Canaanites.
Listen, brother. Your whole argument is that this is not carved on a rock somewhere, or if it's not written in stone somewhere, that means it didn't exist. You know that's soft science, right?
Listen, brother. That's not the logic. The logic is there's
brother.
no David, brother. Let me respond to what you're saying. Relax.
I don't care about David. We're talking about Hezekiah. Because I'm talking about the people we can prove. They have seals or insignias that Hezekiah wore. They have insignias that King Manasseh of Israel, what he wore, they existed. So if you're predicating your whole premise off of the fact that it's lack of evidence of the name of Israel, so that means it never existed. You know how many West African tribes they can't go back past the 10th century A.D. with writings to prove anything. So you gotta if your logic going to be applied, that logic going to be applied to Israel, and you're a scholar, you got to apply it across the board. You can't be biased when it comes to Israel. Well, the Fulani or the people in Ghana, they can't prove the Ghana empire past 300 A.D. But they telling you that it always existed. You're going to believe them because you say, well, they're not saying they're the chosen people. That's bias, brother. If you're a scholar, you can't be biased based off of your lack of belief in God or whether you believe in God or not, bro. That's crazy.
All right, God, so you can reply. Go ahead.
First of all, people have to be clear about this. The debate was if archaeology can prove that the term Israel was founded, right? The brother said that the Kirk stele, he pointed out the Kirk stele. I actually have the glyphs right in front of me, a picture of the glyphs with the Assyrian language, because for the last 3 months I've been trying to study Assyrian language actually on a personal level. Very nasty language. But the point that I'm trying to make, ladies and gentlemen, it's simple and it's easy. You cannot tell me that the history, you see, when I just told everybody about Asarseph and what the other brother wrote about Moses, this is something that's written in history. People are recording a history. So that means a tradition existed of somebody named Moses. So if a tradition existed of someone named Moses, what did the people say that Moses did? They said he left with the people with the Hyksos and went to Jerusalem. Should we believe that tradition, or should we throw it out because it doesn't agree with the Bible? Every archaeological evidence that we find that everybody's going to say Israel is on contradicts the Bible version. So these are not really witnesses for the Bible and the believers. It's witnesses for the people who were the Moabites. So the Moabites existed. So what happened? The Bible writers, 3rd century, between 100 BC and 3rd century, decided, hey, what? The Moabite story is a good story. I'm going to implement it so that, hey, it fits us and what we're trying to do. These things are not original, brother. They took the stories and made it Yahweh. That ain't got nothing to do with believing in God. It's all about revealing truth. I'm not saying that Israel, the people, I can't say that the people, you living right here, I can't say you American or you Texan or you from New York. It's not about that, brother. It's about creating this chosen people, the exclusivity, and have people following it through a book that's not genuine. That's what it's about. It's not about God. Because if it's about God, then we'd have to bring up every single God that exists. Ahura Mazda, Marduk, and all of them. We have to be careful. This is not about God. This is about a book that controls masses. That's his job. Don't tell me about Israel, brother. It wasn't mentioned. If it wasn't mentioned, move on. Keep it moving. They weren't Israelis. These people are more than likely. You want to say they're from Canaan? They're from Canaan.
Let's let Zadok jump in. We want to have time.
Yeah. Let me jump in, because if Manetho is any kind of credible source, then he says that Moses did exist, just not in the way we think, and that they did go to Jerusalem, just not in the way we think. But we got Moses and we got Jerusalem from Manetho, so, I mean, thanks. Okay, so aside from that, at the end of the day, this, however long it takes that brother to understand the Assyrian tongue, which you said is a main thing, when he understands it and he is an expert in speaking the ancient Assyrian tongue, then he can tell us for sure that on the Shalmaneser black obelisk, that when he mentions the 22 kings who fought against him as a collaborative, and he said he defeated the collaborative, out of the 22 kings, he said Ahab the Israelite. That is what the translators or the epigraphers have wrote. Now, he just said, listen, he's trying to understand the Assyrian language lately. He been, for his own understanding, he want to get to know it. That's great. But what he can't say for sure is that in the Assyrian tongue, it doesn't say Israel. He can try to run to him and the so-called scholars who believe that the hieroglyph in Egypt, in the Egyptian language, is saying Jezreel, but he just letting us know he's no expert in the Assyrian tongue. So he can't say that it says Jezreel in the Assyrian tongue. That's one. Number two, when it comes even to the argument of no David, no Solomon, these things that didn't exist, this made up people. Look, brothers and sisters, when they found that thing that they call that Tel Dan inscription, and they found it in 1993, look, archaeologists who found it, okay? Because the Israelis dig in their own land, the same way the Arabs dig in their land and the Russians dig in their land. Everyone digs in their land. When this fragment, this is what's so funny. Everyone argues over the king of the house of David, part of the inscription. But they forget to bring up that they claim that it also says the king of Israel in the Tel Dan inscription. Mm-hmm. It doesn't just say king of house of David. In another sentence, it's referring to a king of Israel. Mm-hmm. Now, the first person to actually read these tablets, brothers and sisters, was the world-renowned epigrapher Joseph Nave. Now, what's so funny is this. We're talking about scholars and that, and we ain't going to go back and forth with scholars, but we have to believe linguists. See, linguists are still scholars. They're just scholars in language. Joseph Nave is because he died about 2 or 3 years ago, I believe. He was a world-renowned scholar. This man lived to be about almost 90 years old, and he was known throughout the world for not just reading stuff in the land of Israel, but in other countries where digs were done, and he was asked to be a part of excavation teams. He is a world-renowned epigrapher. That is someone who go to ancient places, they look at statues, they look at the ancient tongues and languages, and they have to come together to try and decipher these things. Brothers and sisters, he was the first one to translate what he read off of the fragment at Tel Dan as being Beth Dawid. Now, one of his counterparts who argue against him actually is the one, one of those biblical minimalists who try to argue opposite. One of the famous ones is the dude Philip Davies, and he's the one to say, well, he believed that Beth Dawid is referring to a place, just like Bethlehem is referring to a place. It's not that it don't say Beth Dawid. It's that they believe it's referring to a place and not necessarily like the family, the house of David. So at the end of the day, look, these things are there in history. It's just people like me who say, well, yo, these things confirm this. And then brothers like like Garfield who say, well, no, it's just naming a place or naming that. But as soon as he become an expert in the ancient Assyrian tongue, we got shown. I got the stele of Sennacherib, I got the stele of Sargon, and we got the stele of Shalmaneser. All of them mention Israel or Judah, and he's going to have to prove that in the Assyrian tongue in the 7th and 8th centuries BC that word was not really there. It's been a conspiracy. Anywhere you can find Israel on the earth is a conspiracy. Come on. They don't do this about any other people, and he letting you know the reason I didn't go lingua franca tonight because that was never my premise for the debate.
Yeah, Zadok, I apologize, brother. We kind of running short for time right now. What I'm going to do, because we don't have any time for no more questions, but I'm going to take quick comments from the people. Just quick comments, say your piece, what you thought about this debate, and we got to, after that, we're going to go to the final statements. So once again, I appreciate all those people that had questions, but right now we just have time for quick comments. So let's go to the people, and after that, we're going to go to the final statement part of the show. Let's go to 678-544, quick comments.
The water swarming, a.k.a. the fireman. When I find brothers discrediting the Bible, shooting the Bible down, saying this didn't happen, that don't exist, one prophecy come in my mind, and it's this. This is 1 John 2, verse 18. Little children, it is the last time, and as ye have heard that Antichrist shall come, even now are there many Antichrists, whereby we know. That's the spirit of an Antichrist, man. And this guy's motive is to deceive the sheep, okay? Brothers, I doubt this beautiful man slayed the guy. I got one more scripture. This is Romans 3, verse 3. It says, for what if some did not believe? Doesn't matter if this guy believe or not. He does not believe this book. He does not believe this book. Then it says, shall their unbelief make the faith of God without effect? He can't deal. No matter if he believe or not, or he can get books that go all the way up to the Empire State Building. Guess what? The prophecies are coming to pass, baby. Israel exists because you're talking to an Israelite. And with that, I'm going to say shalom to all you brothers.
I appreciate that quick comment. Once again, quick comments, guys, quick comments. You know that number, 646-716-7320. Quick comments from the people. Let's go to 305-785. Quick comments. 305-785. Quick comments. All right, going to move on. Let's go to 951-350. Quick comments. Any quick comments?
Shalom. This is Mikhail. I just wanted to say that I enjoyed the debate, but the brother Garfield is a master of omission. African Americans today is a good example of what the Hebrews were yesterday, a combination of a couple of groups of people. And when you go back to our roots in Babylon or in Assyria, you will find the two groups, Abraham and Sarah, Arameans and Chaldean. All of those things prove everything about the root system that this brother is constantly attacking. So I just wanted to throw that out there and let everybody know what a master of omission does. He dances and dances and try to get a partner to dance with. But that's whack. So, peace.
I appreciate that comment, no doubt. All right, quick comments. We're going to take a few more. Let's go to 912-660. Quick comments.
Yo, what's up, man? Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Man, what's so funny is, I don't know why we still debating this book. These guys who Hebrew Israelites, they're basically saying that their God wrote one book. One book. My question to them is, do y'all believe in God or do y'all know God? I just want a yes or no answer. Do y'all believe in this God or do y'all know this God?
I guess, Zadok, you can answer that briefly, bro. Go ahead.
My Lord, I believe in my Lord.
No, do you know or do you believe, or is it both?
Oh, no, I do both of them, my brother.
You know? Tell me what you know about
the one. Do both.
Well, tell me what you know that you've been able to verify about this God that you say you believe in. Tell me what you know that hasn't been in the book or that you have been able to verify.
All right, listen. You want to answer that? You can say that. You want to answer that, guys? It's up to you. You don't have to answer.
All I wanted to say to the gentleman was, as with any people in any history. All I have is written word, and if you even know what the word Bible means, it's come from a Latin word biblios, which means many books. So the Bible isn't one book. The Bible is one collection of over 66 writings with some other 14 to 20 writings omitted. So when you succinctly say you believe in a God who wrote one book, no, this book was written over a couple millennium, and you have 66 books, which make up what is known as the collection of books today called the Bible. So, I mean, it is what it is, bro. But, if you don't believe in the Bible being the word of God, I accept that, my brother. I'm not here to, shake you in any kind of way.
All right, once again, it's quick comment time. It's quick comments. Once again, the number is 646-716-7320. If you already called in, simply press the number 1, and we get a quick comment from the people out there before we go to the final statements. All right, let's go to 954-572.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Garfield. How are you?
Only over the line. Got it.
And Mr. Israel, I debated with Mr. Israel once before. And, just briefly, my friends, if we follow the history of Africa, 200,000 years of history, we wouldn't be even talking about all these issues here tonight because they're null and void. We're not sucking any juice that is giving nutrition to the problem of the day or wasting your darn time. Look, if you're still believing into one of the religions that have been created after we migrated out of Africa, you need to see a psychiatrist. Mr. Garfield, I appreciate what you're doing because, the only problem is that when people's cognitions are dumbed down by the AD and a Damani system, you can't even, trade with them and make progress by using proper etymological words. That's the problem because they believe eternally and they don't even consult their dictionary what belief means. Thank you.
All right, and Zadok, just to let you know, that was Tim, the Bible killer right there. That's the brother you're going to be on Halloween. Go ahead, Zadok.
Well, he could come and do what he do. I ain't worried about the dude, you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, he and Garfield, I already heard some of his stuff. I've listened to the Carbon Radio and this, that, and the third, and I see how he get down, and he's just like, he's like Garfield. Garfield is a little bit more well-spoken. That dude get a high-pitched voice and start sounding like Elijah Muhammad or something. So, it's good. I'll get at him in a few weeks.
All right, guys. So, you know what? Let's get into this final statement, guys. I know Garfield's tired right now. He had a long day, stayed up for a while, So let's get into this final statement time. Once again, send me an email, guys, at debatetalkforyou@gmail.com. If you have any, you want to let me know what you thought about this debate. Or you can contact the special guest. All the information is on the description box. I appreciate everybody that calling in. Check it out, Debate Talk for You. Once again, I wish I could get to every single caller that pressed the number 1, but time doesn't permit. However, the show is archived, so if you missed any part of the show, you can check it out. Check out the archives. So let's go to my brother. Let's go to Garfield. He has 6 minutes, final statements. Go ahead.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this was a pretty simple, easy debate. It's nothing to worry about here as far as Israel is concerned. I'm not obsessed with a name. All I'm saying is it's just like how the brother can't find his name in history. Why is he wearing it? These days and times, ladies and gentlemen, we are trying to adopt a culture that we had nothing to do with, a history that was written that we had nothing to do with. I have proven that the Shema story is the Moabite story. The once you see it in the Bible, now it becomes the Yahweh story. Why is that, ladies and gentlemen? Why is this happening with every archaeological find that we have? You're going to find Hezekiah's name. You're going to find this person's name. Yeah, but ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't prove that these people are Israelites. It doesn't. Listen, the book of Daniel, I said this over earlier. The book of Daniel, over 30,000 names was recorded by the Babylonians, and they only found 2 names that's in Daniel. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, Daniel allegedly was recording all the stuff that was going on during the exile. And you telling me you only can find 2 names? Listen, ladies and gentlemen, we need to give up on what's not ours. We have enough history. We have Nubia. We have Ethiopia. We have Kemet. We have ancient Babylonia. We have ancient Persia.
We have the Indus Valley. All of this, even America, ancient stuff. But we still stuck on this religion saying, here what? The only God in the world that works is Yahweh. Has this God worked for us? Has this God that you claim that you follow worked for you? Let's look at his track record. Egypt, slavery. The Assyrians steamrolled you. Then you go back to Egypt. Then you go to exile. Then you get colonized by the Persians and the Greeks, then the Romans. Then apparently now, because of prophecy, the same God is sending you to America to fulfill something that was written by Abraham. When are we going to get over these stories, ladies and gentlemen? And then we're going to war based on these books, based on these stories. President Bush said he prayed to Jesus and Jesus told him yes to go into Iraq. Was he right? I guess he prayed to the wrong version of Jesus that day. But listen, Swordsman, you mentioned 1 John. Brother, did you even know that 1 John was not allowed in the Bible until way after the 3rd century? Did you know that, brother? Because they said that Cerinthus was the one that wrote it. He wrote that and he wrote Revelations. Because Cerinthus had a book called Revelations. Listen, man, we can believe all we want, but belief can't save you. Living a righteous life can save you from certain things. But listen, just to claim that you're Israelite and you are exclusive from a God. Come on, brothers and sisters. We got to be smarter than this. And for my brother Israel doctrine, don't try to use Dr. Ben to wiggle your way into a conversation. I'm not an Egyptologist. I'm a universalist. I don't back my way down into one corner, Kemet or Babylon or Assyria or anywhere else. I'm a universalist. All the world is a part of me and I'm a part of it. I don't need the Bible for laws and commandments because just as I pointed out earlier to Brother Zadok, that hey, the Urnama Code, the Assyrian Code, we got a bunch of laws that the Bible now adapted in the 3rd century. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, you can quote the Bible all day about your prophecies. If anybody want to debate me about the prophecies, hey, let's get it in. I'm telling you right now, these things are written with an angle to try to predict the future when it was written after the fact. Cyrus. Let's talk about Cyrus. Cyrus don't have no information about no Jews. He don't use that terminology. Why? Why is that? Is it by accident, ladies and gentlemen? It's not by accident. It's not the truth. I just pointed out in the 30,000 people that was in the Bible. Cyrus Cylinder, no information. I point out that Manetho and other authors, Hectaeus of Abdera, Diodorus Siculus in the 1st century documented the same thing. I have tons of writers here. Theophilus of Mytilene, Theophrastus, Posidonius. I have so many different people who wrote about how the Jews were basically the Hyksos who were expelled during the Ramesside time period. And then they went to Jerusalem. Where did that tradition come from? Did these people make it up? Then after they saw Manetho's writing now, they changed the story to now at Exodus because they were ashamed to say we were expelled. They were ashamed of that. So they changed the story to Exodus and then created this chosen story, chosen people headline. They said that we are chosen of God. So X, Y, and Z. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, Israel, I am not Israel, and I'm proud to be who I am. I am not Israel. But I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, this brother could even find his name. If he searched all of Israel, every single archaeological evidence are fine. Every listing, 30,000, ladies and gentlemen, in Babylon. Not one of them named Yasharel. Why? If we're Israelites and they're from Israel, why nobody has that name? Except in artifacts where you're trying to prove that you existed. In other people's artifacts where the stories don't add up. Come on, ladies and gentlemen, we're bigger than this. Israel is not in the Black Obelisk. It is not in the Kirk stele. They even mistranslated Jehu. Jehu is not even in the Assyrian text. It's Yahuagua. Y-A-G-U-A. And
my brother, 6 minutes is up. Once again, Brother Garfield Reid, I appreciate you coming on the show. You know, we have a lot of listeners all across the globe. and you bring forth that information out there. Let the people know about your radio show briefly, and then, we're going to go to Zadok. Go ahead.
Yeah, peace, brother. I'm on Blog Talk Radio. It's Real Talk Live, and that's It's Real Talk Live. You can check me out. I'm on every day. Monday to Friday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Mondays, health. Tuesday, we're building a brotherhood. Wednesdays, about Urban Financial Network. Thursdays, Theology Thursdays. And Fridays, we have Relationship Fridays. Plus, you can check my group out on Facebook, which is u.n.i.t.e, Unite, where it's Urban National Internet Trade Exchange. And you can also check me out. I got my own Facebook that I'm launching in a couple of days. It's called Ignite to Unite. It's all about uniting us. It's based on the fact that we need to unite as a people, and I'm putting religion aside, my beliefs aside, and I'm telling you, we have a common cause here. We got a problem, and we got to deal with it. We have police brutality. We don't have jobs. We have people that's not living right. We have communities that's not being protected right. So we have a lot to work on. We have farmland in the making. We have cleaning people, 1 million people's credit in 10 years. We're trying to finance and raise our own community. We need a 24-hour hotline in our neighborhoods where we could call our own people, the Hebrew Israelites, the Nation of Islam, the Black Panthers, and say, here what? We have a situation to be reconciled, and call on them. So basically, that's what we're working on. That's my job, my brother.
I appreciate you once again, and let's just let people know, in the description box, we have his email, his Facebook, all that information he just relayed to you guys is in the description box on blogtalkradio.com/debate talk for you, so you can reach out to, the brothers if you want to, contact them. Let me squeeze, we have so many callers out. Let me squeeze in 2 more quick comments, but make it quick, though, because we got to get to this final statement. 2 more quick comments, and after that, we got to go to Zadok. 202-420, quick comments, real quick comments.
Shalom, family. This is a young brother from the Ohio squad, you know what I'm saying? We coming out here to debate anybody, man. We taking on anybody, especially Mr. Garfield over there, because your archaeology is real bad, brother. You got to step your game up. That's the comment. Like I said before, Ohio squad, you're going to hear from us soon. We're going to be debating y'all. Anybody, everybody. That's it.
All right. No doubt. All right, man. Send me an email, debatetalkforyou@gmail.com. If you know the Facebook, just hit me up. Sal Showtime. Take one more, man. One more quick comment. Just real quick, because we got to go to the final statements. 252-883. Quick comments.
Oh, peace, Sal. I didn't know I was on. Nah, just go to your comments, man. This is Brother Raheem. I didn't know I was on. I'm just still listening, bro.
All right, cool. Appreciate that, man. All right, quick comments. Anybody quick comment? All right, cool. You know what? Let's go to Zadok because we run out of time. I want him to get cut off in his final statements. All right, so Zadok, you got your 6 minutes. Go ahead, brother.
All right. Well, I just want to give all praise to the only true and living God, Yahuwah, Elohim of Israel, and I want to thank all the people for listening tonight. Whether you agreed with me and everything that you've ever heard from me or disagreed, I hold no ill will against you because the information I have isn't my own. Nothing you heard tonight was unique from myself or from Brother Garfield. We are relying on our education and the resources and the information that we have gotten from scholars and all over the place, whether it's linguists, epigraphers, or archaeologists or anthropology. They are all scholars, so there is no way to go around it. My effort tonight was to show that the nation of Israel was mentioned as a people. Why weren't there someone with the name Israel in the cylinder with 30,000 names in it and a couple Jewish or Hebrew names? That's beyond me. I don't necessarily have to see that everywhere in order for me to believe, brothers and sisters, that this is true. For instance, we've heard the Kemet or Kemetics mentioned a few times tonight. Brothers and sisters, are they Egyptians or are they Kemetics? Is their country Egypt or is it Kemet? What am I saying? Brothers and sisters, the word Egypt comes on the scene with the Greeks. So you know that before the Greeks wrote about Egypt or had any dealings with them and wrote about them in their history, or even our brothers and sisters of Cush, who they call Ethiop, words that mean like burnt face and things like this. These are the words that they use to describe our brothers and sisters. So is there a such thing as an Egyptologist, or is it more like a Kemetic scholar? See, at the end of the day, no one is downing. Some people do, but for the most part, the world in general doesn't kick aside the term Egypt and and refer to Kemet, even though we know both. It is the same thing with Israel. When the Septuagint was put together in Alexandria in the 3rd century BC, which he keeps referring to the 3rd century BC, he has to prove that the scholars who came from Israel, or with those who were in Alexandria, that they made up all of this stuff about Israel. It's just not true that all of this was made up. This is history. He claims that the black obelisk doesn't mention Israel. It does. Go and do your research. Israel is in there, brothers and sisters, even in what's called the Moabite stele. The name Israel is in there. He said, even if he now check this out. He says that the Moabite stele is really that basically believe the Moabite stele, not the Bible, because the Bible copied off of it. As Yahweh did this, but Misha says Chemosh did this, that, and a third for me. But in the stele, it says that he built one of his cities with the captive prisoners of Israel. So he's claiming victory over Israel, and it says Israel. The brother tried to tell you that it says Jezreel everywhere, but then turned around and say he's trying to study Assyrian recently so he could try to understand the Assyrian tongue for himself. Brothers and sisters, even if you want to give him that the Merneptah stele is really the hieroglyph is Jezreel, the Assyrian language is no hieroglyph. It is a language like Hebrew and other languages, and he is no expert to say that it doesn't say Israel. Or the Sennacherib prism that was called the Taylor prism. Brothers and sisters, look, at the end of the day, Israel was definitely found in history outside the Bible written, the Tel Dan stone. All of these things are written, and even if you want to even take it further, he himself admitted on this show, it's archived, that there is great argument today about the validity of the accepted chronology. And when the so-called Bible killer called in and tried to throw people being stuck in the BC AD thing, I'm not stuck in it. I'm using what everyone else is using, but I'm the one saying that even the chronology that they're using BC AD to try and confirm the Israelites really is all off, just as well as it was off to establish the Kemetic dynasty order when kings were really ruling at the same time, 2, 3 kings at the same time, and they're listed one after the other. Brothers and sisters, no one's history is assured. I brought up things tonight. He couldn't answer my Carthaginian question. He couldn't answer my Etruscan question. Maybe the Bible killer will. I'm going to tell you this. Israel is real. We here. We ain't going nowhere. And we have the true word of God, which is the many books, writings over centuries that were put together in a collection. Not one book like the so-called God Bible killer said. So at the end of the day, we can sit back, rest assured. This was light work tonight. This man by no means proved that Israel wasn't in history. He was trying to prove that the word Israel isn't written at a certain time, and I even shot that down, proving that it was written in inscriptions and markings found today that show it to be even have been written down in the 7th and 8th century BC. So with that, brothers and sisters, I'm Brother Zadok Ben Israel. It's always good to be here with you guys. I respect Brother Sal. I thank my brother Garfield for coming on. Get some rest, my man. And I'm ready for the so-called God killer, so I could get at him and shut him down as well. He can tell all the brethren over in the UK that, man, this dude in the United States is man, he a problem. So look, I love you all. You can find us every Tuesday 8 p.m. and every Thursday 8 p.m. on the blogtalkradio.com/Nazarene. You can also go and find us on YouTube, type in Zadok Ben Israel, go to Facebook, friend me. Let's talk and let's build. And until next time, God bless you all. Thanks, Al.